Ready.
Okie well, we're back again. Here I am with the Canadian Blofeld. Here's Mitch again, and we're back to talk about the F20 decks. And last time we did American Jade Falcon, Davian Wolf in Exile, Karita Smokejag, and Lau and Diamond Shark. And we're hoping at this point that they've all been done. We've played all of those games, and they should be out and visible. And although we're doing this today, I know that the Wolf's Dragoon Star Adder game's gone on, the Raselhague Ghostbird game has gone on, and the Steiner Steel Viper deck has gone on. The only one left is St. Ives Nova Cat. So there's all that to come, but we wanted to kind of put this together first and kind of explain the decks before giving you all the other gameplay. And then after that, we've got the St. Ives Nova Cat to arrange. Wood and Blake Hell's Horses is arranged, and then there's one after that. So that's the plan for today. And well, we're gonna start with the Wolf's Dragoons deck. And I think it's fair to say that we found this one quite tough. I think having played Chester most of the games, or most of the factions in DSR and stuff, that Wolf's Dragoons was one of the ones I definitely struggled with. I think maybe in this format it's a little better because everything else has got a curve similar to the curve in this deck,
Yes.
or a similar curve. It can struggle in more competitive formats, I find.
There's not a lot of cheap Wolves Dragoons units, which really affects their deck building.
Yeah.
Gives you the option in BattleTech Tactics. You could employ the new resource units that we use in some of the clans, but even the buyouts don't line up nicely. It was one of the struggles with the Dragoons. But we've created one thing to remember: is Dragoons thematically are a mercenary company. So while they're going to have a few things that are their own, for the most part, they're going to be an inner sphere amalgamous faction, right? Whatever's available kind of commonly on the market is what they're going to have accessible. So while the deck does struggle unit wise with some theme, we've pulled out a lot of the Dragoon commands and pilots to give it that Dragoon theme while sticking with a lot of the inner sphere. But yeah, I think that's a sincere issue with Dragoons is they don't have a lot of low cost in-house units to really give them theme. We did our best, and we've got some very iconic units for the Dragoons in here, and then a few bigger units to help fill the back line. So. Like all the decks, yeah, like all the decks were they're tabletop decks for the most part. 24 resources, 24 units, 12 other cards. This one is a ALT deck with more tactics than anything else. 7 tactics, 6 religious, black market connections, 1 think tank, 2 war funds with all the decks, and the odd one. I know we just said there's not a lot of Dragoon units, but we put in 2 Blackwell Heavy Industries for keeping your Dragoon units around longer, and it does give you that little bit of ramp, right? Plus, it introduces another tactics card into your collection. So.
Yeah.
Want to go into the units first or the commands?
It's alright, I'm just struggling with all the wonders of technology and stuff like that.
Alright, sorry about that.
So, I'm not sure if that should be alright. I hope so. We'll find out in a bit. I think when you look at this unit, the Wolf's Dragoons, it is a funny thing. Because it has got a curve. It's just it's not not the curve you might have thought for or wanted. Certainly, when you look at the low cost stuff, there is the flea at 0, the wolfhound at 2, the tarantula at 2, the falcon at 2, and you've got the lineholder at 3, and the scorpion at 3, and the phoenix hawk at 4. The only problem with those is most of those are moderates.
Yeah, and then the warhammer at 4, it's slow. Your fasts, this deck does hurt for speed. Your fasts come in your cicada.
Yeah.
Your
tarantula.
And at 4, and your tarantula, and that's really it. And this deck does hurt for speed.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like some of the other decks, perhaps like the Davian deck, which has a little bit more speed with the Osiris in it, but it's a deck that needs to start marching across the board as early as it can, right? You rely on having blockers and defenders.
I think what I've always said about speed is that it doesn't matter if you're attacking your opponent. If you're attacking your opponent, then generally speed doesn't matter so much because it's something they have to deal with. And certainly when I played Chester, then putting out or him getting a number of those moderate 2-cost units out with survivability, and them coming across the table at you is something that you have to deal with. And if you can't deal with it, there's a world of pain there.
Absolutely.
You know, and especially with something like the line holder, which has just got that extra point of structure, makes it so much more durable.
Yes, even with the 2 heat.
Yeah. So if it draws right, it can put out a lot of early game units. It's just they're not fast. And you know, whether it's moderate or slow, they're still going. If they're coming for you, they're coming for you. So yeah, and that if that happens, then it gives it time to put out the slightly more expensive units that are in the deck. So
this is basically a 2/7 swarm, emphasis on the 2 to 4 cost range. There's a couple of beefier units. You've got above the 7 cost, you've got the Marauder 2 as a great backliner. No buyouts at 9 is in this format is playable. You can get that out over 2 turns, usually mid to late game, and that'll be a big game changer. And then before we get into the commands, which are really the theme of the deck, we've got Natasha's Warhammer as well, which ties into having, obviously, if you've got her Warhammer in here, we're probably going to be running Natasha as a pilot, which we'll get into. Again, 11 cost on this one, no buyouts. It's definitely a late game mech. But once it hits the table, I mean, it swings for 8 overheat 2, AP 1, so 9 on a sight, plus intimidating paint job. It's a monster, right? Because it's all clan tech in an inner sphere mech. This deck is almost the inner sphere version of what we did with Jade Falcon. It is a big pilot deck. So it runs 4 Wolf Dragoons, mercenary, keyword, big pilots. The first one is Captain Natasha Kerensky. So she counts as Natasha while in play, +2 attack, +2 initiative. Scrap a card from your hand to take any mission card from your scrap heap and put it into your hand. Right, so you get that. Right, use this ability only during battles. The second she goes into battle, anything in your stockpile or your scrap heap you can bring back to reutilize. And with 2 initiative plus the tactics you have in play, that you're talking about 3 initiative for playing missions, which gives you quite a bit of versatility. And she has the tutor for her own Warhammer, which is wherever it is, search your stockpile for Natasha's Warhammer, put it in your hand, and shuffle your stockpile. Right? So, big pilot, kind of akin to the old Davian big pilots. The next one on the list is Jamie Wolf Modified. So this is one of the cards that Michael and Chester improved for playability. +2 initiative base, right? Gets +1 attack for each unit in a group that includes the mech piloted by Jamie Wolf, right? So just in this swarm deck, he's going to build up quickly. And the ability that during your draw phase, you may scrap a card from your stockpile, and if that card is a unit, put it into your hand. Well, that means you can run this deck a little higher on units and basically get to thin out your deck and look for stuff as well, right? And you have to remember that, especially if you're using that ability, what are you throwing out? Is there a chance you hit one of your big pilots? Yes. Is it more likely that you're going to hit a resource, a unit, or a mission? It's more likely you're going to hit one of those three cards.
Well,
It's more likely you're going to hit a unit or a resource, right? So
if you think
the
dual
mission going
stockpile, all the
yeah.
resources are taken out of that equation when it comes to dual stockpile.
Yeah, and if you're playing dual stockpile, which these decks are built for, the resource isn't even there. So
Yeah.
you're really looking at just pulling a unit anyways, right? Or throwing a mission in your graveyard, or your scrap heap, which this deck loves in spades, because it's got a bunch of mission recursion in it. So the next pilot would be Maid Wolf. Search your stock. She comes with 2 attack, 2 initiative. Search your stockpile for any mission card and show it in your hand, and shuffle your stockpile. If it is still in your hand at the end of mission, scrap it. You must have 2 initiative to use this ability. It counts as playing 2 mission cards. So her ability is kind of eaten by just her initiative that she provides. But being able to search for any mission card you want, whether it ends up in your scrap heap or not, as I already showed with Natasha, that's not a huge issue if you have the right uniques out or black market out. And as you've argued, if it's in your scrap heap, you know where it is, right? And again, you're probably going to have 3 initiative at least when she's out. She requires tactics to play anyways.
Yeah. The thing here is that you just think, well, if I need a damage boost, then I'll just go pick a damage boost, and there I go. If I need something to mitigate damage, I'll just pick that instead. You pick the mission that you're likely to play, otherwise it's just going to get scrapped and you kind of lose the point. So mission for free from your entire scrap heap or what's in your hand, can't complain. Pretty strong ability. Yeah.
The final pilot is Stacy Church. She replaces Natasha as commander of the Black Widow Company. She is, again, so all 4 of these are mercenary keywords, which is going to come into play a little bit later. She's a +2 attack, +1 initiative, so pretty straightforward pilot. She, Maeve, Jamie are all 3. Natasha costs 4. But scrap a card from your hand, take a mission card played during this mission, and put it in your hand. Use this ability only during a mission after damage has been resolved. So she's going to help you recycle what you've already played, right? And again, you can kind of you can start seeing where some of these pilots have synergy together, right? Especially the 3 women, Maeve, Stacy, and Natasha.
Do they? I'm just reading this. I can't remember this, but I would just play during the mission. So if you use Maeve and go and get a mission card and then play it, if it's still in your hand at the end of the mission, you scrap it. So you can't use Stacy's ability.
But you can use Natasha's. Scrap card from your hand, take any mission card from your scrap heap and put it into your hand.
Use this ability only during battle. But if you use the card from Maeve, it'll be in your hand at the end of the battle. So you'll have to scrap it.
And then you would use Natasha to bring it back if you weren't able to play it with Maeve. And that's one of the issues. This deck is very initiative hungry because it runs a bunch of the 2 initiative missions that we'll get into.
So that says during battle. And Maeve says if it's at the end of the mission, which would probably be there.
End of damage phase.
Yeah. I think this is kind of one of the things why we found Wolf's Dragoons a little awkward, because that synergy isn't quite there for me. If Natasha brings if you use Maeve's ability to get the card and play it, and Natasha brings it back, it's in your hand at the end of the mission, and then Maeve scraps it again.
Depends if both attack in the same battle, right? You attack with Maeve with whatever she's in, get her mission card off.
Yeah,
then you attack with Natasha, bring the same mission card back.
Yeah.
Right, if you want that mission card.
Yeah.
Or it's more whether or not Maeve and Stacy have that. And we'll have to talk to
it kind of, I don't
to
think
make a
it
little
does
bit.
use this ability
Yeah.
during a mission after damage has been resolved. So at that point, the
Yeah.
mission is still valid. It should be after the mission's concluded, kind of thing. And again, what it means is that you cannot attack with them kind of together as a group. You can't have a 3 or 4 units and Nat and Maeve and Stacy all on them heading the other way and use their ability. The synergy is kind of them being separate. Um, yeah.
Yes.
And Jamie feels a little clunky because it says during your draw phase, which isn't
Yes.
necessarily when you would normally be looking at pilots. In that
Well,
respect.
Jamie's looking for, yes, you have to be thinking about it when you're
Yeah,
using Jamie.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah,
Anything that says use during your draw or repair reload phase requires a second stop.
yeah,
Stop and think. So much
yeah,
is done during the
yeah,
phase.
yeah. And generally, you're looking
Um,
at your commands and not your units at that point. So, yeah,
there's 2 more commands to cover in the deck. Tactics of the Wolves Dragoons gives you the +2 initiative. Choose any 2 mission cards from your scrap heap or stockpile. Show them and put them in your hand, then shuffle your stockpile. You may choose a unit you control, tap it if it's not already tapped, and add it to the battle.
yeah,
Right? So you get to throw in an extra unit, probably one of your big beefy slow boys. +2 initiative, you're very likely going to activate this on defense anyways. Right? Yeah, it's going to give you a boost on attack, but you've already got huge initiative in this deck. But gaining 2 initiative is huge because a lot of the missions in this deck are 2 initiative missions.
yeah. Probably use this
Where
to
they were
block with something that's moderate or slow against something that's fast.
basically, yeah.
Yeah,
But it kind of builds in with everything. And the last command remaining would be the Wolf Dragoon's High Command. Uh, so this has some more synergy, hopefully with Jamie. Right, Jamie pulls you an extra unit, then you have Wolf Dragoon's High Command out if you're lucky enough to have 2 uniques out. Choose any Wolf Dragoons affiliated unit in your hand and put it activated into your patrol region. So basically, it gives you free deploy and dash. That unit joins the battle, so it's not outlined before to use this only during battle. If that unit is scrapped, removed it from the game. Otherwise, restock it after the mission. Right, so it cheats you out some of your units. You can get out. Use these abilities only during battle. Affiliations granted do not count. Right. Uh, you can use this to get out some of your bigger guys, kind of right to get them out and into a battle. Maybe you're sitting on that Marauder, or you're sitting on Natasha's Warhammer in your hand, and you need to change the side of a battle. That's going to
yeah.
do a lot for you.
And if Natasha's on the table, then you've pulled the Warhammer out the deck.
Yeah.
Then yeah, yeah, and
But even throwing either the Gala glasses down with it is not a bad thing either.
no,
So they're both
well, you're
beefy units.
looking
So
5 or 7 damage, 8 damage maybe, long range. I mean, Natasha's big 8 with an overheat 2
Mhm.
is a considerable swing. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's the Wolf Dragoon's High Command. Then there's the missions. This deck runs what is it, 6 missions.
hmm
Um, there's a combination bare knuckles. There's a decent amount of armor in this deck. And there's right that unit gets -X armor, where X is its base armor, and you get +2 attack. So you can, I mean, it's a +2 attack minus armor. It's a huge. It's going to be an armor bonus, right? So
yeah.
or an attack bonus.
So
The
so
bigger
the
they
only
are,
thing
the
is,
better it is.
so the way to look at this is against a unit with 0 armor, it's a good shooting.
Hmm.
But as soon as you get armor on there, then it pays off 2 ways. So you basically -1 armor, and you get +2. So that's effectively 3.
Yeah.
If it's
The
a 2
bigger they
armor,
are, the
then
better.
effectively it's -2 +2 attack. Then that's a swing of 4, and so on up the scale. So much better against bigger units or units with
Yeah.
higher armor.
It's a great hunting card. If someone's
Yeah.
hiding something on a big slow mech, right? Because it says it has to be only during battle where you have one unit engaged as
Yeah.
well, right? Next mission is Kneecap Team, which was one of yours. We were looking for some other missions to work in, and I like it, right? 4, 5 through 6. A mech gets a hobbled counter, return the mission to your hand. Sorry, and a mech with a hobble counter cannot guard a site, and its speed is slow, right? So you're blowing the kneecap off with the demolition charge, which is very common in mercenary companies to kind of have that infantry support. So it's got some great theme to it. Like a second skin, we have in quite a few decks in the inner sphere. Play only when you attack and win initiative. Well, with all the initiative boosts in that, that's not an issue here. Prevent 2 damage and deal 2 damage to target. Great card. I guess this edition we removed a lot of the initiative 2 cards. Mercenary Intel Brief is a mission. It's a game winner. It's going to tie in with your big 4 pilots. Play only when you have a mercenary card in play. +1 initiative, and you win the initiative. Well, if you're doing that with Natasha or Jamie in play, you're now at +4 initiative. So I think you win the initiative a little unnecessary. All your mechs gain +2 attack, and all your other units gain +1 attack. Like it's your game winner, right?
Yeah.
It's going to board clear for you. And with 4 initiative, it gives you the ability to play other missions, right?
Yes, especially the ones you've just pulled out of your scrap heap or stockpile or wherever else. Yeah.
The tight spot prevents damage. Roll a die for each of your engaged units, right? All you need to do is 1 initiative, which again is easy in this deck, and prevent, on average, 2 damage to a unit for multiple units is good. Finally, we've got your back. Play only during a mission where you won initiative, and after the mission, return any of your units that were scrapped during that mission to your control region, tapped with 1 fewer damage counters than they have structure. So you get all their armor and 1 structure back. Takes 2 initiative to play these cards, but if they just board wipe you and you can drop that at the right time, it's going to bring you back, and they're not going to have an answer.
Yeah, huge potential tempo swing here.
Yeah. To the sideboard.
To the sideboard.
Yeah. So this is saw a lot of change. Like we said, the Dragoons was kind of a hard one. That's why you heard me keep saying there was the 2 initiative missions. There is quite a few in the Dragoons lineup, but we moved a lot of them. The sideboard, just like all the other ones, are typically running 4 commands, 4 missions, 4 units. That runs them a little light on units for DSR, as we've said. It gives you more options to play with as a sideboard option for the 60 card format.
Yeah.
The first one in this one for commands is Fresh Replacements. Scrap when revealed. Look at the top 5 cards of your stockpile. Choose any unit from those cards and deploy it revealed with 3 construction counters. This does not count as deployment. So you're paying your deployment for fresh replacements, and then getting a card out of your stockpile, which is going to give you help you dig. And this deck is already heavy on units, right?
Yeah, and the other thing to note is that you're paying 1 resource to get 3 construction counters. So that you actually get you +2 resources effectively, and the unit draw. And when you compare this to something like the Howl in Wolf, which is search for a card from your scrap heap, which costs 5 or less, and then put that into play with 3 construction counters on it, and it costs 3. This is way better in that respect.
Yeah, they're both going to serve slightly different mission roles. One, you're dealing with what you already know, right? The other one is you are still digging, right? Second, we have Spy Satellite Uplink. Choose one of your untapped units in the patrol region. That unit may block the current mission regardless of its speed. And if it does, gains +2 attack. So it's a predictable mission. They're going to see it come down. It costs 2. It's a 1/2, so it's easy to remove. You're going to be playing block on this a lot.
It's a command mission, isn't it? It's tap. They declare the mission. You tap this. Put your unit in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're playing it during a mission's phase, so it's going to play like a predicted mission, right? So, and it's going to draw fire, but if they don't deal with it, it's right. So it's just kind of nice little piece of tech. The missions we ran into in the sideboard: evade, choose an engaged unit control, and an engaged control by opponent. Just prevent damage to each other.
It's just a defensive mission, isn't it? It's there to
Yep.
support the fast units. There aren't many of them.
Yeah, or even keep your Falcon alive a little longer early game,
Yeah.
right? Because it's got no armor. Intelligence failure is kind of a cheeky little card. Play only during a battle and only if you somehow manage to lose the initiative in this deck. Opponent may not play mission cards this mission. You may choose an untapped unit you control and tap it. It joins the battle. So again, there's no speed liner on that. You may choose to place any other mission cards you play this mission on top of your stockpile instead of scrapping them. So it has a, if someone, maybe you're playing the Davian deck that just says I win initiative, right? Maybe you're playing Kai, maybe you're playing Ian McKinnon, right? Whatever else. Jade Falcon has a lot of initiative boosts as well, right? You manage to lose initiative, you can slap this card. It's a great sideboard card for that reason. And you're going to slow down your opponent drastically, and then cycle your missions.
I actually think it's a little cheekier than that because I think you can block, determine initiative, play this card, and then bring in a unit that has one of the big pilots on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a
You
great
bring
point.
Maeve in, recycle something, and then when you look at the clause at the bottom of this, you may choose to place any other mission cards you play this mission on top of your stockpile. So, for clarity here, the initiative phase is determined who wins initiative, but you can then increase your initiative. You still don't beat
Yes.
them anymore, but it does allow you to play additional mission cards. So this again allows you to recycle or potentially reuse those mission cards as you decide.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Unpredictable tactics. Roll for each opposing affiliated unit. We've seen that in Liao already. Remove that unit from battle. It's a nice little card. There's so many affiliated units in tactics. It's a great damage remover, but it's not reliable because it is a roll.
Yeah.
Widow's Web, very thematic, right? Play only if one of your units attacking alone and isn't blocked. Choose any opposing unit. Your mission now targets that unit and may not be blocked, right? So they let in one of your big guys mistakenly, and then you can hunt out a unit with it, right?
Yeah.
Sideboard units are both a little tech-based. The Marauder 2 4S at 11 cost, no buyouts, is quite expensive. It's going to be 2 or 3 turns to get it out. But she's cheeky, and it's a Wolf's Dragoons affiliated unit, which means the High Command works with it to get it out into a battle, right?
Yeah.
And then the Sparrowhawk gives an arrow fighter, long range, another fast unit in the deck. It's honestly, I would recommend sideboarding it in as soon as you're comfortable playing with arrow fighters, just to give you the other fast unit. Because it is quite survivable the way maneuver works. The second you try to, you're going to end up having to deplete it if you block with it. But even if you block with it, you're going to probably get a 4 armor or 6 damage out of it, which is crazy. Or you just turn it into a bomber, right? So
long range 3 on that as well.
Yeah, no, it's a great little unit for 4 cost, no buyouts.
So,
and that's the Wolf Dragoons.
Facing off against that, we have Star Adder. So let's go find the Star
which was
Adder.
more your deck than mine, actually. I think this was one that you said I was playing around with this, and I'm going to send it to you, and you did. And I did a few tweaks to it, but I think it was very much yours to begin with.
I think the thing was that I think you'd done Hell's Horses, and there was a load of vehicles and other things in there, and I think we also wanted to try and have a proto-mech aligned deck, for want of a better phrase. And
yeah,
Star Adder seemed
Cat.
to.
We only had the 5 in there, so
Star Adder seemed to be the place to put that. So basically looked at the Protomax, thought, oh, there's a load of L. What else can we put in here? It etc., etc. And we basically came up with a deck which is resource-wise very heavy on logistics at 8 logistics, supporting that 6 tactics, and then only 4 assembly. So although it's an ALT deck, the numbers are generally reversed because of the buyouts on there. And with that, we also have a clan mech factory supplying assembly as well. So let's just do the types, and we can just look at that. We still have 2 black markets and a think tank and 2 war funds in the resource mix. There are some decent units in Star Adder, Carlos Hutchinson being one of those. +2 attack, +2 initiative, prevent all damage to mech piloted by Carlos Hutchinson when it blocks a group containing 2 or more units. That's very, very powerful. Somebody comes across with 2 units, you just block with this and just say, don't bother, please. Let's start again. Confiscation is a very, very crazy Star Adder card. I know when Chester gave me the DSR challenge, I looked at this and I thought, I've got to play 6 of these, and it's just brilliant. It costs nothing, so this is just chuck it out. You can play this on turn 1. Scrap, not that you'd want to, but you could play it on your turn 1 if your opponent goes first. Scrap when revealed, you may deploy confiscation revealed and gain an additional deployment, so it replaces itself. Gain 2 resources. Choose and deplete a resource your opponent controls. That resource does not provide any assets until it untaps. That's bonkers, absolutely bonkers. He goes assembly, you play confiscation, and you get 2 resources, and you get a deployment, and his assembly is gone. And at that point, you could probably, with 2 resources, play something that's reasonably strong, powerful, and cheap, and does anything from 2 to 4 damage without too many problems. So an early pull on a confiscation in any game could be quite impactful on swing.
Well, first turn you deploy a resource of confiscation, and then you have 3 resources to potentially still deploy an adder or a siren or something else.
Yeah, and even some of the protomechs here are the Siren 2 is a dash ability. Are they both dashes?
Yeah. It's the only Siren 3 that doesn't dash.
The original Siren's got free deploy as well.
Yeah.
So
in either case, if you start with logistics and a confiscation, you could potentially end up with one of 4 or 5 units that are in this deck out on turn 1 that all cost 2 or more anyways. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, it can get out of the gate quite fast in that respect.
Yeah.
Fangs of the Star Adder, removed from the game when you play it. Gain an additional deployment. Choose a card from your scrap, even put it in your hand. Scrap. You may scrap any or all counters, pilots, or enhancements from any or all of your units. Repair or damage to all of your units. Now that might sound a bit strange about why would I get rid of an enhancement or a pilot from my unit, but remember when you think about rookie pilot, -3 attack and you can't remove it or can't reassign it. So if your opponents have played something, for example, on the other things, not only the pilots but something like misrouted command, and you've got 3 counters on there, then this actually removes all of those. The big one is repair all damage to all your units. That could be an awful lot of counters if you think about how I have to tap an assembly and I'm limited to 1 per turn to get rid of all of those. That could be really, really strong.
Okay. Well, and especially with the protomechs, because putting damage, as we'll go over in a little bit, putting damage on a protomech is really hard. Can prove to be hard, and then all of a sudden repairing a bunch of damage to them is it's gut wrenching.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll talk about protomech strategies in a minute. Hannibal, there for a bit of theme, but also his ability. Remove an opposing unit from battle to tap an untapped unit you control and add it to the battle. So you can remove one of his and add one of yours. That's how you bring in some of your bigger, beefier guys or your slower units. Use this ability if an opponent has at least 2 units engaged. So you cannot remove all of his units doing this, but you can swing the tide of battle. You can wait until somebody's played a mission card on a mech and then remove that mech, nullifying the mission card and bringing in yours for the kill. Or his other tappable ability, because he is a command card, he sits there in the command post and does 2 damage, which a lot of people forget. Remove a unit you control from battle to tap an untapped unit your opponent controls and add it. So you're in a position to add or remove a unit from either side, depending on the combination that you want to and from the battle, which can allow, again, for big swings. That, if used right, can be very, very strong. And a real pain to get rid of as well.
A mini Viper's Maw, that's reusable, right?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Remote assignment, scrap when revealed. Activate only when someone is attacking you. You may block this mission with any tapped or untapped units regardless of speed. Untapped units is the phrase there that really gives this a lot of power. Because if you've got something that's tapped because you've attacked with it last turn, you can use it to block his mission against you. And then finally, we have the Star Adder High Command. 2/2L, so fits in with our quite heavy logistics deck.
This card's so good.
Pay a resource and tap this card, roll a dice. 1 to 2, choose a unit from your scrap heap and put it in your hand. That's a black market from your scrap heap, which is
for 1 resource.
Pretty strong for 1 resource. 3 to 4, draw a card and make an additional deployment. That's pretty strong. That's basically a Steel Viper R&D team. And 5 to 6, gain 4 resources. So
you add that to confiscation, it's gross.
yeah. Confiscation is just 2 resources. So you go confiscation into Star Adder High Command, roll high, and then put something out for 4, or even run into another confiscation. And yes, it's crazy. We've done the resources, so let's look at the units. I'm going to start at the bottom. Other H, 2, moderate. Okay, there's 3T on there. It's a 0/4/4 long range 1. 2 resources for 4 damage, cannot be sniffed at, and a long range 1 on top of that is just icing on the cake. Next we have the Siren Protomech, a 0/3/1 fast. That doesn't sound very strong, but when you read its abilities, first of all, it's a proto-mech, so whenever you have damage assigned to it, you roll 3 dice. And there can be 1 damage assigned to it, you roll 3 dice. It could be 20 damage assigned to it, you roll 3 dice. And for each 4 to 6, you prevent 1 damage. So basically it means you have to overkill this to guarantee the kill. So in order to kill this, you probably need to assign 6 damage to it, unless you're feeling lucky. It only does 1 damage back, but it has AP, and it's a free deploy, and it's got a dash effect. So early doors, you could be putting this out very early in the game and just plinking your opponent for a couple without too many problems. The Siren 2 is similarly statted. This one has AP2 instead.
But no free deploy.
So extra couple of points of damage. And again, it dashes. We're heading up the resources. Let's go to 3. Puma, moderate, 153, overheat 1. So you can get 4 out of this. This, if you need it, the Puma H and Urla H could be an easily early resource kill machine. And the same with your Siren 2, and either of those you could again go hunting resources with them. What have we got next on the curve? We're at the 4 slot. The Hephaestus B, 054 fast vehicle. It's got BAP, which I must admit I'm growing to like BAP. I'm finding out a lot more useful than I thought it would be. If it's damaged on a 5 or 6, scrap it. But it's fast and it does 4 damage. Again, you can go resource hunting with this or go straight to the stockpile.
No buyout.
No buyout either. Yes. Very nice. In the 6-cost bracket, we have Dragonfly I, 164, Overheat 1, Anti-Missile, BAP and Jump. Again, can go resource hunting with this. It's fast, it overheats. The anti-missile's quite nice as well. And then we get to probably the best unit in this deck, which is the Gorgon 2, the Protomech.
Oh man,
This is such a pain to handle with.
it looks like most people wouldn't sniff at it because it's a 7 cost, slow, right?
Yeah.
Like most people wouldn't even look at it.
Yeah.
But you really got to give this thing a second look.
Yeah, because with the Protomech ability, roll 3 dice, then effectively, if you're rolling lucky, this could give you an additional 3 armor. So you're looking at a 3-8-6 for 7, and it's a bugger to deal with. It really is awkward to get rid of. You know, if it's 4-8. Sorry, my maths is wrong. It'd be a 4-8 if you rolled all of the high numbers. So you've got to do 12 damage to it in order to guarantee that you're going to get rid of it. Otherwise, you're running the risk that it's going to come back, and it hits you for 6. Yeah, I got one of these when I played Chester. I got one of these on the table early, and he couldn't deal with it. It's crazy how strong this unit is. Doesn't look a great.
Oh yeah, if you start with one and put it down for like your turn 3, you put 3 on it. Turn 4, you put 4 on it, kind of thing. And it hits the table early because everything's kind of stalled in this format a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, it's hard to answer with almost anything. You pretty much need Word of Blake on the table to deal with it at that point. So
yeah. I was just thinking if you went back to the original game Merchant Cast deck, which would run logistics and improve construction facilities, and if you hit your curve right and slap one of these on the table turn 2, not nice, and there's not much that gets rid of it.
No, not easily.
You know,
needing effectively 12 to remove it is not easy, right? That's a multi-turn kill, which means multiple turns on the Protomech ability.
Yeah. I mean, when somebody does that, I look at cards that have potential to remove them. Something like Accidental Collision, for example, where you can use the tonnage against it, because normally they're beefy. You can't with this. It's just straight 4 if you roll right. There aren't many cards that are answerable to this. It is a beast. It is a beast. Also in the 7-class slot, we have the Ryokan Stormcrow H, a 2/7/6 overheat 1, just beefy, solid, and hits the middle ground. At 8, we have the Burrock.
You missed Crimson Langer.
Oh, I missed the Crimson Langer Prime. Yes, fast unit, 175 BAP. You know, solid.
7, no buyout.
Yeah.
There's a lot of 7 in this deck.
Yeah. Burrock, 2/8/6, Alpha 4, getting 10 out of that's quite nice. The Glass Spider at 2/8/8, overheat 5 point +4. That's a pretty crazy thing. Long range 2 in there as well. And then finally, because we had to put a Blood Asp in, so we went with the D at 3/10/7, overheat 2/3, long range 4, and you can probably play this or with Confiscation in the deck and or Fangs of the Star Adder, then you can probably justify putting 1 or 2 of these in just because of the potential to get that large chunk of resources. And then that leaves us with missions. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 missions in here. I missed something.
Minotaur Protomech.
Oh, the big Minotaur. Yes. 1/8.
Again, you get it out as a game mode, and very small.
If you get this out instead of the Gorg, well, the only thing you're more happy to see on the table than the Gorgon is the Minotaur. Again, it's a 1/8. It's its big brother effectively because of the damage more than anything else. 10 damage on that is just gross. and 11 cost. Again, with those two cards we mentioned, the confiscation and the Star Adder High Command, will mean that you can potentially get this on the table.
Not to mention Clan Mech Factory helping ramp up a little bit,
Oh
right?
yeah, tap for two is always 2 resources, always nice in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This deck is very expensive, and it's going to play on getting your cheaper Protomechs and Puma and Festus out early, right, to kind of hold off long enough to get one of your backliners out, and then you start swinging.
Yeah. Or you just put all your resources in and
Yeah.
and stick that big Protomech out, stick that Gorgon 2 out. Yeah. Mission wise, it's a bit of a varied package.
It's
I'll do them
faster than it looks like, but yeah.
Yeah. Especially with those few little free deploys and confiscation, stealing you a resource or two and slowing your opponent out.
Well, I mean, the mission package lends to its speed when you go through the missions, right? So, as we'll go through here.
Yeah, so concentrated fire, play with an attacking and only during a battle. Choose 2 Star Adder or Steel Viper affiliated units you control. They join the battle. Way of bringing those big units. This was errated because it actually had the Star Adder on there and it said Smoke Jag, if I remember rightly. Tap them if they're not already tapped, which is nice because you can use units you've tapped. And you can deplete them at the end, but potentially that could be enough to wipe out your opponent's force if you're pulling in something like one of those Galahads or one of those bigger boys.
Well, this can also bring you from a just construction region, right?
It just says tap them if they're not already tapped. So yeah, it effectively dashes.
And you just built that Gorgon, you just built that Minotaur, right? And you now add it to battle.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's one other mission in this deck that will do the same thing pretty much, and it's on the other side of it. I've played against this deck on the table quite a few times. My friend up here has a copy of it, and it's always frustrating.
No recognition code, Protomech mission. If you don't put this in a Protomech deck, where are you going to put it? Your Protomech.
Actually, this one can be any deck.
Yeah. Your Protomechs may attack or block as if 1 speed faster. Well, that's a nice boon. Opposing engaged units get -1 attack. You can choose either
it's good
of those.
No matter what.
And then, obviously, as you say, if you don't have Protomechs, you kind of got to go with the second one. Play this card before blockers are declared, obviously, because of the change in speed, if you're going to do that. I think it kind of... It telegraphs, as we would say in the UK, the -1 attack if you're playing it beforehand. I suspect you're probably going to play it and go with -1 attack and let everything through. So it's a bit kind of fog-shrouded moors on it. Otherwise, you're going to telegraph what's going on and your ability
to trade. You may play the card before blockers are declared, so you can still play it at a regular initiative step. You can win initiative, and then they play their mission cards, boost their attack, then you play no
I just find it a bit funny. I find it because you've got to play it for the Protomech one. Yeah. Again.
Of the 2 Protomech missions, I feel like this is the weaker one, but because it's usable by non-Protomechs, it's more ubiquitous.
Yeah, it's a bit more generic. Yeah, or usable. Overwhelming force. Play during battle when you are the attacker. All opposing units take structure damage, are depleted. That potentially could be a huge swing in game tempo. Remember, depleted means turn them over. That means you could attack them with something else if you want to get rid of them, or just ignore them and punch through to the stockpile and deal that damage. Again, it's a 2 initiative to play that. And one of the things in this deck is there aren't a great amount of initiative sources. There aren't many jump units around.
The Gorgon and the Minotaur.
Yeah, so you're kind of onto
the Viper.
The Viper with BAP and the Crimson Langer's BAP. There's only one in there. It's quite strong, and you've got to have the right units in order to be able to jump to get that second initiative to play it. Tenacity. Play during battle. After all damage has been dealt, choose one of your engaged units, remove up to 2 damage counters, and untap it. And again, you've got to have 2 initiative to do that.
But this
Same
is a
kind of thing.
Gorgon. Like
Survive.
someone kills your Gorgon, then you play this.
Yes.
Game's over,
Yes,
right?
definitely. You know, you jump the Gorgon, you don't worry about the damage. You roll your dice, you prevent the damage, and it stays around. And
Yeah.
then finally, the Unseen Blade. Play during battle. Tap an untapped protomech you control. It joins the battle. So that could be that Minotaur that you just built. You may untap any engaged protomech, so it's may, you control and remove it from the battle. If all your
Mhm.
attacking units are removed from the mission, your opponent may untap all of their blocking units, and you get to roll a die. 1 to 2, no effect. 3 to 6, return it to your hand. So you can start
Which is
playing all sorts of
ridiculous.
mission shenanigans about what comes in and who comes where and whatever else, and kind of dictate that to your benefits.
Block with a fast, with one of your little fast sirens that are only a 0/3 with Protomech, and then swap in the Gorgon, right?
Yeah, or such like.
Oh,
Yeah, speed
yeah.
bumping. Okie dokie. Right then, sideboard time. Into the sideboard we have Cassius and Buta. Tap, show and restock a card from your hand to search your stockpile for a unit. Show it to your opponent and put it in your hand. Shuffle your stockpile. Use this ability during your deploy phase. If the card you restock was not a unit, you may pay an additional R to
Must.
use this ability.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just a good ability to recycle those pain in the ass to get rid of I always get them mixed up. Gorgons.
Gorgon, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, we put the Fang of the Adder in to give you that initiative. Basically, if you were struggling with a bit with it or felt it was a bit, you were struggling with a bit of it. And also remember, we haven't done them yet, but the missions do feature a game. So if you want to go
Mhm.
more and commit more to that strategy, maybe drop a couple of larger units or something other, or some of the other commands, you can put your Fang of the Adder in there, +1 attack and +1 initiative. Scrap a mission card from your hand to put any mission card from your scrap heap into your hand. So nice ability using those mission cards or recycling the ones you've played. Which ones you choose are obviously down to you, but you know we've seen the um, damage versions, we've seen the protomech and the prevention missions. So you pick what you want accordingly with that, and then away you go. Just be mindful. It says you scrap a mission card, so you've got to cycle your mission cards around. But remember, there's nothing to stop you on this mission scrapping a mission card and putting it in your scrap heap, and on the next mission, the one you've picked up, putting that back and pulling another one through, if you need them. So you can
Mhm.
cycle around there. Another
Yep.
copy of Remote Assignment fills out the commands, just to give you that little bit of speed protection. Most of the units in here that are fast are quite well. You got the two protomechs, um, variable survivability, and arguably the Hephaestus. The Hephaestus is nice, but if you roll a 6 or a 5 straight off, and you just paid 4 for 4 damage and it dies, then it's not great. The Viper and the Crimson Langur are a bit more chunkier. So this just gives you the ability to kind of deal with some of those speed issues if you need to. We have another copy of Overwhelming Force, another copy of Tenacity, and another copy of Unseen Blade, and no recognition code as well. So just doubling up on those slightly more thematic or aligned or synergistic missions with the Fangs of the Adder, and then unit cover a little bit more down the cheaper end if you find that some of those big units aren't quite coming out. The 3-cost Puma,
Mhm.
152, but with long range that's quite nice. But AP4 makes this quite a scary unit. It'll hit your stockpile for 6. It can take out a think tank and a black market, etc. on its own.
Yep.
It's quite
With a
quite
lot of
a
advanced resources.
yeah. And then the Hellion, 154 overheat 2+2, so you can get 7 out of this. And the mask ability, which for only for fast units, mask says that you can attack from the construction region. Mask for moderate and slow units is blocking 1 speed higher. So this is 7 attack from activation stroke dash kind of a thing. It can be quite a good thing to if there's something you want to kill, or even just go straight for the stockpile to finish the game off. It's quite strong. So that was the Star Adder deck. What we got next? Let me just check.
Raselhague.
Raselhague. I think this one's me again, isn't it?
No, this one was. I played it and I did a lot of the building on this one.
Yeah, I think when we looked at Raselhague, we said
we went back and forth a bit.
You could build this 3 ways. You can build an Aerofighter deck, kind of a bomber deck. You can build an artillery deck, and you can probably build a missile deck. And I think we struggled with the artillery one to kind of make it work. We didn't think it was reliable enough.
No.
I think the Aerofighter deck was again quite strong in some respects, but had weaknesses in others. I think we ended
it was
up
inconsistent.
settling on this little missile deck, and you know, nice to have an inner sphere missile deck when the original basic 8/13 it was the traditional smoke jag in here. So nice to turn the tables and go with an inner sphere one. So
yeah, the 2 key. I mean, there's 2 units that really set this for Raselhague being a missile deck, kind of 3, but the idea was Raselhague thematically is not supposed to be a mech-based army. They're going to be more airfighters and artillery until they're nearly wiped out by Clan Ghostbearer. So a missile deck, well, the mechs aren't necessarily thematic. It gives it still kind of that artillery long-range feel. And the deck very much does just play to swing for the fences like a baseball bat and just throw your missiles at their stockpile, right, and hope for the best. So,
yeah.
As you'll see if you watch the match when it comes out. So, it's one of the decks that uses ammunition, which is also a resource.
Yep.
So it has it's an MTA deck in priority sequence. It goes 8 munitions, 6 tactics, and 4 assembly. Supporting it is 2 war funds, 1 think tank, only 1 black market connections in this deck, and 2 incendiary LRM depots. Incendiary LRM depot says it's 2 cost command. Does 1 damage back, so keep that in mind. It does do damage back, but only 4 to remove. Is pretty easy to remove, though. Choose a unit control with missile that has not been chosen by an ammunition card this turn. Until the beginning of your next turn, each missile die assigned by this unit to a site deals +1 damage if it deals damage. Use this ability only during your deploy phase. And then it's a free deploy on top of that, right? So you can tap it for a resource. It's not the best use of it, but if you need to early game, you can. And then that basically giving each of your missile dice AP1 kind of thing is quite strong when you look at the unit composition in this deck. That there is a lot of missile 3, missile 5. That's quite strong. You're going to talk about on average of 2 to 3 additional damage at least.
Well, there's 2 big units, aren't there? The Viking and the Longbow, which both have got missile 5 on them. Okay. So the kill after the incendiary LRM depot is if you have one of the pilots, either the assassin or the missile wizard on there, then all of a sudden you've got pretty much a strong chance of manipulating the missile roll to 3 and then adding 1 to it. So you could get 20 stockpile damage out of one of those big boys.
Which is half of someone's life, really, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's 20 damage is pretty much the game. What you're going to find though is because this deck is very slow as we go over the units. It's why it's a baseball bat deck. You're just going to keep sending your slow missile units at the opponent, and hopefully they're not hunting them and killing them, right? But that's really how this plays. So going into Missile Wizard, might as well next because you just mentioned the Missile Wizard is one of the pilots in this deck. It is a command. It is a mech vehicle or aero fighter pilot, and it simply says if a unit piloted by Missile Wizard has the missile ability, it gains Missile 1, so you're boosting your damage potential right there. And you may subtract 1 from the missile die roll of any missiles fired by the unit piloted by Missile Wizard. And then vehicles don't have to roll for, or units don't have to roll for scrapping, whether it's a vehicle or an aero fighter. Makes this pilot quite powerful. You're not as good as the assassin, but the additional missile dice can help beef up some of the missile 1 units in this deck and really make them more of a threat.
Or when you've got missile 5 and it turns into missile 6.
6,
you've got a 7.
It's always good.
You've got a 7-cost unit with a 1-cost pilot doing the same missile damage as the Nightjaya Prime at straight 15. Which is basically half the cost.
Yeah.
And
the other pilot
built-in narc effectively with the -1 from the missile die rolls as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, then you got the assassin comes next.
Yeah.
The other pilot, which is narc, right? Just add or subtract 1 from the die roll of each missile fired, and then no roll for scrapping.
Yeah.
Uses ability immediately after rolling a die roll, so technically that means you roll and then immediately adjust it, roll and immediately adjust it, roll and immediately adjust it. But plus or minus 1 means you are on average rolling closer to your 3s, right? Because you both your 2 and your 50% of the time you're rolling a 3. Yeah. So, and then you'll see it. This plays prominently even on a basic longbow with 3 missile dice. That's going to consistently bring you to 6 to 9 damage. Rounding out some of the commands, we've got tactical satellite feed that feels like those pilots, like the Wolf Dragoons Intel Net. It's a cheap, easy to kill command. Tactical satellite feed says all your engaged units may add or subtract 1 from their missile die rolls on this mission. These missile die rolls may not be modified by any other ability, so it doesn't stack with pilots. But this is a game ender, right? I'm going to throw multiple missile mechs at you at once, and I'm aiming for those 3s.
Yeah, I mean, if he's going to wait for your big 5 missile guy and you chuck one of those 3 missile guys across, then that's the time to use it with that, because you haven't got a pilot on it and you're probably not going to mod the missile roll. So it's all about kind of smoothing out your damage curve across your units in that respect.
The last 2 commands, we have the Raselhague ultimate card, Shield of Raselhague. This card is ridiculously strong and can make all the difference in the world in this deck for clearing out fasts that are becoming annoying, because fasts are really, really easy, usually low structure cards. But Shield of Raselhague costs 1, right? It's activated during your missions phase as a command and removed from game when revealed. But tap X of your resource keyword cards with the resource keyword. Place 3 times damage counters distributed at will among opposing units. So you have to watch, if you're playing this by strict rules, you got to watch your timing, right? You're going to deploy it, face down, put 1 on it, go into your missions phase, potentially have 6, maybe 2, maybe 6 resources left on tap, depending on what you're trying to do, right? And in your missions phase, that's when you tap it. It's not like a bombing run or something like that where you overbuild it, right? That's technically incorrect and will cost you. But the ability to even tap, say, 3 resources and throw 9 damage counters, not damage counters, means you're ignoring armor, and you can quickly remove a bunch of fast units that are maybe 1/4s, 1/3s, right? Your
6 dashes.
1/5s. Yeah, dashers, right? Mongoose, whatever you're up against that's been picking you apart, this clears it. And then the final one is Strategic Airstrike. This is a Raselhague card, kind of give it that air fighter feel. Scrap when revealed costs 4. distribute 5 structure counters among any sites. So structure damage among sites. So that can technically stockpile as a site, but also 5 will kill a resource and leave 2 more on another resource, making it much easier to remove. Right? So
Black market think tanks.
yeah, we've been over those. Units, trying to follow the cost curve like you just did, I guess. At the bottom end, you have your first fast unit is a Tarantula, 2 costs, generic intersphere. We've seen it in a lot of decks. You're going to see it in a lot of others. It's a great stable unit for 2 damage, and +1 armor when you have the initiative.
Yeah.
I missed the 1 cost unit. Apologies. The LRM Carrier is our first missile unit. 1 cost, 2M buyout. May make an additional deployment with it. It's a 1/1/1 slow, so she dies to a stiff breeze, especially as a vehicle. But missile 3 for 1, it's there to maybe abuse a tactical satellite feed and support a longbow later on or something like that.
You could theoretically turn 1, deploy this, play munitions, put it on the table, and then when he and then just hit his stockpile with 3 missiles straight off.
Yeah. Start your next turn, usually when they have nothing out. Yeah, absolutely, and that's what it's there for. So LRM carriers don't last long in the game, and they don't last long on the table, but they do pack a punch. Yeah. The other 2 cost unit would be, again, a 2 cost no buyout. It's the first longbow. It's a 2/50 slow missile 3 for 2 cost. We've already discussed where the missile synergies are here. So a cheap missile unit like that LRM carrier, 3 missiles is not to be sniffed at because your opponent knows that even blocking it, there's not much point, right? The missiles are just going to go through. So, blocking is to kill. And finally, at 3 cost, we have the Archer 2R, Old Faithful, 40 LRMs and 2 medium lasers, 3 cost, 1 munition, 280. Missile 2, overheat 1, so very similar to that longbow, slightly more expensive, slightly more rugged, and the ability to technically toss out 1 damage. In the 4 cost slot, we get to our other.
You've got the Dragon at 3.
Oh, I missed the Dragon at 3. Thank you. The Dragon 5N at 3, just a stable unit, moderate 3 damage for 3 is always going to be good.
What I was going to say with that is don't underestimate the 2 armor on that. Most units in that category are 1/6s, and 2 armor on that means it can take A, a beating, and B, it refreshes. So it's there as a durable unit in the moderate category to stay around.
Yeah, they're a great card. The next is the Cicada 3F at 4 costs, no buyouts. It's your second fast unit in the deck. This is, again, it's a staple in a lot of Intersphere decks just because of its cost to damage and everything else. It's the other 4 cost is a Crusader 3K. This is your prime candidate, for, like I said, for Missile Wizard because he's one of the few Missile 1s in the deck, but he does come with base 2 damage and overheat 1. So for 4 costs, you're potentially pushing out 4 damage anyways. And you still have that missile in there, and he's a Raselhague card.
Yeah, beefy as well.
Yeah, he's very beefy. Yeah. Speaking of beefy boys, we move into the 5 cost, which has the Archer 5R, Raselhague only card. 2/7/2 slow. This guy has a lot on him. Missile 2, overheat 2 means he's potentially killing a site on his own. Right, and long range 2. So if Archer 5R is blocked, it may deal up to 2 of its damage to the target. So that means you're potentially pumping out 4 damage to a site by itself, which is substantial, right? As a 2/7, he's hard to remove, needing 9. You don't even need to use the overheat, right? You're just going to pump 4 onto a site every chance you get.
Yeah.
And then the other 5 cost is the Beowulf. 5 cost, moderate. He's more here for support for Raselhague than anything. Moderate with Mask. Mask is not as strong on moderates and slows. 3 for 5 damage is not crazy. He comes with Bat, which is okay. 1/7 is a little tough to remove. You're at least at 8, but it's only that 1 armor, comparable to that 2/6 you were just talking about for 3, right?
Yeah.
But he comes with tag, and you have a load of missiles in here, so he's a good blocker. Someone comes hunting one of your. It might seem a little foolish for 5 cost, right? But someone comes hunting one of your slower missile mechs, you block with the Beowulf, and then you can tap the missile mech in to support the damage with tag, right? So
I think the other thing here is actually not to underestimate the mask ability. Again, because he's a moderate, then he can block a fast.
blocking,
And then if you
yes,
use the tag and pull in your missile mech, then you can obliterate the fast. And okay, the Beowulf's depleted, but there's not going to be much attacking him effectively. So
maybe that was a Viper and an Elemental that you just
yeah,
wiped out with Vikings, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
um,
6.
moving into the 6 cost bracket, we have the Mauler, the other missile one mech in here, 6 cost, no buyouts, very thematic. Um, cool mech. Everybody likes it from the cartoon show. I recognize it from that. And missile 1, overheat 2 gets you to 5, long range 2. Just like the other archer, you're just going to throw 3 damage at their stockpile every turn. Moving into the 7 cost, there's a couple. And this is where the real weight in this deck comes out. The first one would be the longbow, I guess. Either Intersphere generic 7 cost. 3/7/1 slow. But Missile 5, as we already commented, is a potential, especially with one of these pilots or the satellite feed. You're talking about 20 damage potentially, right? Like it's quite abusive when your opponent knows they can't do anything about it. And even trying to remove him, he's like when someone hunts him, 5 missiles will spit back a lot of damage that he can spread out, right? So
Yeah.
and then finally, like I used it against Chester. Oh no, that was the Viking. I don't see it in play, but the Viking 7 cost as well, an A and an N buyout on it. 3/9/0 slow. Makes him awkward at 7, but he's a missile boat for 5 and Raselhague. Overheat gives him the ability, and AP means he can hunt sites on his own on average, right? Especially with a pilot on him. You're rolling dice with missiles, but it's still your opponent can't afford to leave this on the table. And when they come to hunt him, he's gonna throw 5 missiles back up at him. You associate or designate those missiles where you want.
I think the other thing to say here is that it's a nice curve. It's a good curve all the way from okay, maybe a little short on 1s, but 2s up to 7, it's all there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. That just leaves us with the missions.
Missions, right? Missions. It's not a heavy mission deck, but there are a few. Um, Effective salvo is kind of like tap as many untapped, unengaged units as you wish. They may assign their missile dice to your opposing unit, and you get narc tied into it, right? So, again, defensively, you block with with a dragon, and all of a sudden, it's got
In fact,
20 missiles coming and supporting it.
according to the card, you don't. You don't need to block. Unengaged units. Assign the missile damage.
Yes. So
So
no, because engage is not battle. Engage technically means being on a mission now.
yeah.
So you could they could attack, resource hunt you. You could throw effective salvo down and just artillery bombard them with your missiles, right?
Yeah.
With a blocker.
Yeah.
Sacrifice a mission.
Yeah.
Gauging the wind comes up next. Play only during battle. All your missile dice deal 1 damage on 1/3/5 or 2 damage on 2/4/6. You may use these abilities. You may use abilities to affect these die rolls. It's guaranteed damage, and
on the law of
statistically,
averages, it takes your missile dice damage from 1 on average to 1.5 on average.
yeah, with an average 2 missile dice on everybody, you're talking about 3 damage boost, right? Like that's substantial.
Yeah, and what you want to do here is, and I'm not sure you want to use abilities to affect these. because if you roll a
Don't think you need to.
2, then it's going to do 2 damage. If you use the missile wizard to turn it into or one of the pilots to turn it into a 3, it's only going to do 1 damage. So the chances
No,
are that
you
you're
use
going
it
to
if you
use,
roll an odd number. You
yeah,
turn fives into sixes and threes into fours, basically,
yeah,
right? Like you're
yeah.
trying to create even numbers so you get 6 damage out of 3 missile
Yeah,
dice.
but if you're looking at turning a 3 into a 4, you're taking what would be 3 from a normal missile roll and dealing 1 to a 2. So this is probably best used on a missile boat where you don't have much in the way of modifications to change those die rolls. If you've used
I agree.
your tactical satellite feed and your pilots, then this is a good way of, say, taking that archer or one of the archers and increasing the damage.
Mhm. Holding the high ground, one of the last missions, play only when blocking, which you're probably going to do more often than you think. And plus 1 attack, plus 2 armor.
It's there for the
That's just
durability,
easy.
aren't they? You know,
Yeah, it
the
doesn't even matter if you
tarantula,
lose your. Yeah,
yeah, the quad
yeah.
ability
And
on
then
that, and yeah, yeah.
the final mission is spicier than it looks. Lucky grouping. When resolving damage, you may re-roll any or all your missile dice. So that's a great, right? You roll 2 threes and 2 sixes. Well, and a 5, you re-roll your 5 and your sixes, right?
Yeah.
You must accept the second result, but may still modify that result with effects or abilities. Your pilots or your tactical satellite feed still works. At the end of mission, roll a die. If you roll greater than the number of dice you re-rolled with this effect, return this card to your hand. So if you think about this, doesn't matter the mission. You have a missile mech on the table. It's involved in a mission. You just throw this down pretty much anyways. Why? Because half of the mechs in this deck are 3 missiles or less, which means on average you're probably only going to be re-rolling 1, maybe 2 dice. If you're really unlucky, you're rolling all 3. But that still means that at the end of your turn, you re-roll that 1 dice, and 50% of the time, lucky grouping's still coming back to your hand. I actually re-rolled 5 dice in a mission in the game for this, and still rolled a 6 to put it back in my hand. And the fact that you can still modify your dice results, it pretty much guarantees that you're going to be rolling 3s, especially if you have a pilot involved in there, on all of your missile dice, and then it still comes back to your hand to boost damage on another mission. It is a great quintessential mission card now, and I highly recommend it for any missile deck. So
Okay. All right.
the only situation it doesn't go off is if you have it's missile wizard on the Viking or big longbow.
Yeah. Yeah. Sideboard time.
Sideboard time. Sideboard is well, it's you got 4 different commands in here. You got Raselhague High Command. It's pretty much just there to remove damage counters. Right? You don't have depleted units because you don't have artillery, or so you don't have Alpha Strike. You're not running artillery in this deck, but remove 2 damage counters from up to 2 units you control. It doesn't have to be an affiliated unit, so that's repair 4 damage. Right? That's great. Um, then we move into there is another strategic airstrike in here just to fill it out,
Yeah.
and then 2 more ammunitions. Smoke Missile Depot is the first new ammunition. If you are building DSR, these ammunitions go in the main deck because you are at 24 resources now, or 26 resources with them now. So Smoke Missile Depot says choose a unit you control with LRMs or SRMs, so either missile type, in equipment. At the beginning of your next turn, this unit gains the ability to choose any number of engaged unit control, prevent 3 damage to each of those units. Those units get -1 attack. So +3 armor, -1 attack. And it's not even armor, it's prevent. So if you were using these with vehicles, right, you're preventing damage. Use this ability only during battle. It's a great survivability card, and can force your opponent to really think about how much damage they're going to use, especially say you're being hunted. You can use this to keep as basically a secondary mission to keep your missile mechs alive. So
-1 attack on a unit that already has 0 attack doesn't
yeah,
really hurt
means
it.
nothing. Yeah. Thunder LRM Depot. Choose a card you control with missile that has not been chosen by an ammunition until the beginning of your next turn. And each unit receiving damage from missile fired by this does not untap during its controller's next untap phase. Right. So again, you spread out the missiles behind this, and you kind of basically not deplete, but almost slow down. You give yourself an extra couple turns, right?
Yeah.
So, great. So I still think the incendiary is going to give you your best mileage because it's just straight up damage against sites, which is why it's in the main deck. Moving into missions, there's 3 missions in the sideboard. One buying time. This mission moved around a lot. It's used in a couple of decks. It is a great mission. Play only one blocking. Each of your blocking units gets +1 attack, which is pretty minimal, but for each of your engaged units that do not scrap during the battle, draw a card and gain additional deployment during your next phase. So if you can pull off a multiple blocking phase here, this will help you get some extra deployments on the table and help you swarm your opponent. And one more effective salvo. We've already talked about how great that card can be in this deck. 2 hidden sentries. This deck is very slow. Play only when attacked. Choose unit control. It may block regardless of its speed or if it's tapped. Pretty straightforward. Last 2 units. Archer 4M, 5 cost, 3 missile, 291 slow. Obviously fits in with the deck with what it is. It's very similar to the Archer that Raselhague gets, but it's not quite as powerful, so we went with the other one. And finally, the Arrow Fighter. I wanted more Arrow Fighters just thematically to fit this, but we can only really fit the one. The Slayer, 7 cost, 396 slow. Arrow Fighters are interesting. We haven't really talked about this, but because the rule of the card wins, even though they deplete when they attack, they can't be attacked. So it makes Arrow Fighters very strong, but very slow, because you're only getting 1 round of attack for every 3 attack phases, right? But 6 damage directly to a stockpile can make or break a game, right? So yeah. That's the Raselhague deck.
Next up, we have Ghost Bear. I can't remember where this one came from. Certainly, there were a number of iterations with Ghost Bear. We tried to work out what we were going to do with Ghost Bear. I seem to recall I came up with a crazy Ghost Bear missile idea that got absolutely pounded straight off. But so with Ghost Bear, we kind of went back to the original elemental feel. There's probably cases within the clans to build a variety of elemental decks, but Ghost Bear had access to 2 of the more stronger uniques, and then we decided that maybe going back to Ghost Bear Elemental historically reasonably strong from Dragonflies and the original game Elementals, was the way to go. So let's just get these organised by unit.
Well, and some of the better missions for elementals that we'll go over a little later too are only for 3 different clans, right? House Horses, Smoke Jaguar, and Ghost Bear, which really, if you want to, we wanted to highlight the elementals just like we wanted to highlight missiles and some of the other builds. It limits where you can build them. Hell's Horses is going to be vehicles, as you're going to see when we get there. Smoke Jaguar, we've already been over, right? They had some great access to move away from missiles and away from elementals into kind of their heavier hitters. So we only really left Ghost Bear to show off some of these fantastic new elementals that Michael and Chester built, right?
So just do the resource mix first. Black Market, 2 of. Star Assignment Officer. This is basically the clan version of Solaris Contacts. Note that it's a 1/2T, whereas the original Contracts was 4T, and it's a 4/2 with no damage. Tap for a resource, or tap, choose a non-unique pilot and put it into play. It doesn't count as a deployment. So we'll see some pilots in a minute or two. And also note that you can tap it for a resource, so pretty good. 4 assembly, 7 logistics, 6 tactics. A little different. Maybe you could make a case to drop a Star Assignment Officer and add another assembly in there. logistics and tactics are the main feature here when we come to some of the pilots as well as the units, so I wouldn't mess with the mix too much. 1 think tank, 2 war funds, and then we have 2 pilots. The Fanatic, which is +1 initiative, and you can put him on a mech, vehicle, or aeropilot. Each unit in a group that includes this unit, or unit piloted by the Fanatic, gets +1 attack. So the idea being here to put him on a mech and then give the mech and all the elementals +1 attack, which is quite strong. And the Patronizer, which is +2 attack and +2 armor. I still haven't worked out how pilots give armor, but there we go. And then additionally, for each opposing unit that has enhancements or is in a sphere aligned, mech piloted by the Patronizer gets +1 attack and +1 armor. Which that armor bonus can be crazy, that attack bonus can be crazy. So, you know, if you block this with 3 inner sphere units, that's giving him +3 armor and +3 attack. Very strong in that respect.
Yes.
Okie dokie. So we'll hop down to the units and we'll leave the mechs for the other missions for the moment. And elemental wise, we'll start with the anti-mech. 043 AP1, pretty standard battle armor stuff. It has jump as well. Okay, so that's probably what you're used to if you've seen any of the original game elemental points. But this one says choose a mech this unit has assigned damage to. It gets -1 attack. Use this ability during battle. So basically a little more survivability and prevention of damage. I'm going to jump to the gnome next and do the elementals here. Unlike the other elementals, which are 043s normally, this guy is 8 tons, not 5 tons, so he's beefier. So this is why he's now a 064 with jump. Just solid all round. You know, two cost for 4 damage is pretty strong. And we'll then go for the infiltration elemental point at 1 cost. 043 battle armor, AP1 jump, pretty standard. And then this final little ability, tap, add this unit to the mission, use this ability during a mission. Effectively, if you've just built it, you can tap it, it goes with the mission, it's effectively a dash. And when you tap that during your missions phase is another thing. So you can attack with a unit. If he doesn't block, you can just tap and add this, or if he blocks and you think I need some extra damage to kill it, you tap and add this. It's a crazy ability. I think of the elemental abilities, that's probably the one that's snuck under the radar an awful lot.
Yeah.
So there are 2 each of those, which gets us to 8. And
elemental. No, you're missing elemental reserve guard.
Oh, I'm missing the reserve guard. 043 battle armor jump. No AP on
no
this
AP.
one. No AP.
But
if it's guarding a site, it's also guarding each site in the same region and may block alone. When it blocks, you may choose an untapped patrolling unit. That unit may block the current attacker regardless of speed. So this is again how you pull the tricks and pull in your slower stuff to block faster attacks. So there are our 10 elementals, and to round them out,
that's 8.
Is it 8? Is it? Or we end up with 10 in total? Or I miscounted.
Yeah, 10 total for non-mech units.
Yeah, well, I'm going to do Jake next anyway.
Yeah.
So why Ghost Bear and not Hell's Horses? Well, we've got Jake here who features in both. Standard elemental 043, battle armor jump AP. Each opposing unit gets -1 attack. Use this ability during a battle. When scrapped, you may put Jake Kabrinsky on top of your stockpile. He's a pain in the ass to get rid of, and then when you get rid of him, he comes back like a really bad boomerang. That, you know, you can get trapped into the put him on the stockpile and whatever else. It does say may, so you can choose not to. But that -1 attack is quite strong. Generally, because you're going to be attacking with a unit and an elemental point, then yeah, what are you going to kill? And then finally, Teresa de Villiers, 043 jump, battle armor, blah blah blah, the usual stuff. And the last bit says your engaged units get +1 attack and +1 armor. Again, I'm not sure where the armor comes from, but again, really strong with +1 armor on this. And now it's a 143, not a 043, and it's all your units or all your elementals. So
to point out, like you could have Teresa, if you're lucky enough, Teresa and an anti-mech and maybe even Jake on the table, and that's effectively 3 armor that they're attacking with elementals.
On everything, yeah. And then you just put the whole lot together and trundle all over, and you 3, 4, 3s, APs, and the numbers go all over the place. Yeah. So one of the things to note with this deck is when you look at the costs of the units, all the cheap stuff is elemental, and it's slow. So the chances are that you want to generally be trying to put a couple of elementals out if that's what's in your hand, and then using those. And again, if it's slow, it doesn't matter what speed it is. If it's coming across the table at you, it doesn't have to be fast. So it does struggle a little for fast units. The cheapest fast unit is the Arctic Cheetah B, the Hankyu. 2 cost, 2A, 2T, 043. Again, you might struggle
you're
a
less
little
likely
with...
to see it early.
Pardon?
The A buyout means you're less likely to see it early because of only 4 7.
Yeah. We also have, where are we in the costs? I think I'm up to 4 now because I've done the elementals. We've done Jake, so we're into the dashers. And again, the theme here with the dasher is it dashes, surprise, 023 AP2 BAP. And then you attack with this, pick up an elemental, and if you need it, tap the infiltration one to get by or add to it if you need it. And also the H024 overheat 1, that's 5 damage. And again, depending on which elementals you pick up and the options you choose, that can be very strong. For durability, the fast Viper F with 064, and also this has an AP2 and jump as well. So that's 6 damage to the stockpile if it's not blocked, plus anything else that's hanging off its back. And then on the slightly chunkier end of things, we have the Stooping Hawk, a 185 Alpha 2. Alpha 2 is not really in theme with the deck, but 1/8 and 5 damage puts it into the kind of Gorgon territory. Maybe not as survivable. But again, it's quite a lot of attack. Sorry?
Don't ignore that Alpha Strike though.
No.
It's not thematic, but it's there and it will make a difference in the deck.
Yeah.
7 damage, right?
Yeah. And again, the one Stormcrow H, 276 overheat 1+1. There's an awful lot of firepower in there if you can keep it hanging around. Invariably the dashers are a little weak, and the Hanky's a little harder to get on the table, so you need to use your elementals wisely. And as I said, if it doesn't matter if they're slow, if they're still coming across, they're still coming across. To support this, we have a mission package.
Executioner X.
Oh, have I missed? Oh, yes, I've missed the
Gladiator.
Big Gladiator.
Yeah.
Can't be a Ghost Bear deck without a Gladiator in it, can it?
Needs to have a heavy mech, yeah.
3-10-7, Alpha 3. Note that it's got mask if you need it. So, yeah, just a big body if you need it, basically. Mission wise, play only during duty, honor, death. Play during a battle, one of your mechs gets +X, where X is the mass of the mech divided by 10, round down, scrap the mech at the end of the mission. Well, if it's going to die anyway, it's going to die anyway. Even on a dasher, that's +2. When we get to the Viper, it's +4. And on the Executioner, that's +8. Yes. And the Ryokans and the Stooping Hawks are +5. You're going to scrap it anyway, so you just use it wisely when something's going to die. To support the elementals, elemental support. What a bad play on words there. Play only when you have at least one Omni-Mech engaged and have L in play. Choose a battle armor from your hand and put it into play. Tapped, it joins the mission. It is basically play an elemental from your hand for free and put it on the table. You just need to have L in play in an Omni-Mech. All the mechs in here, when you look at the keywords here, they are all Omnis. So you basically need a mech in play. There are 2 of those. And the Elemental Swarm card basically reduces an opponent's unit's armor to 0 on 2 units of your choice, which again, with all that damage and removing the armor, it helps you get rid of those beefy guys. If someone's got a 3/7 against you, then you just get rid of the armor. It's the equivalent of 3 damage. And there's plenty of firepower in this deck to deal with that. Keeping up the pressure is used to give you a little bit of survivability. It's quite an interesting card in that it has 3 different options depending on the speed of your units. Fast units get +2, moderate units get 1 attack and 1 armor, and slow units get 2 attack. So generally it kind of balances things out, where your fast units need armor, they're there. When your slow units need the attack, that's there, and the moderate units, it just adds to the survivability and damage. It's, again, one of those you could play on anything. It's quite a flexible mission.
Well, if you think about that on a Dasher and an Elemental, right?
Yeah. 2 armor on that. And likewise, the next mission we've got, which is Night Mission. Play only when attacking. If you have tactics in play, you get 1 initiative. Roll a dice for each unit. 1, remove the unit from the battle, which potentially means they survive, and you might argue that that's the best option potentially. Or 2 to 6, it gets +1 attack and +2 armor. So again, another good way of keeping your elementals alive. And then finally, Poking the Bear, +1 attack and +1 armor for each battle armor. So this is there to support the situations where you have a lot of early game where you have a number of elementals, and extra 1 on attack and extra 1 on armor for each engaged battle armor. So if you've got 3, that's +3 attack and +3 armor. That's pretty strong in that respect.
Stalk and Prey.
Yeah, I think that's the deck. So we'll look to the sideboard.
Stalk and Prey.
Yeah, have I got them all? I think so.
Stalk your prey. We missed in the missions.
Am I Stalk Your Prey? Oh, yes, there is. Stalk Your Prey. Play anyone attacking. Choose 2 engaged mechs you control, at least 1 of which is fast. Well, you're probably going to have a fast with an elemental in most cases. Choose an opposing unit. Prevent all damage dealt by that unit. Your chosen units get +2 attack. You may not assign a damage to that unit. So I'm assuming the one that you choose. So it basically allows you to keep your units alive and gain a kill on one of those. Yes, yeah. So better in a 2-on-2 situation. Prevent damage from one and then kill the other. Yeah. Sideboard. Advanced training. We haven't got any politics in this deck apart from the think tank. But note on here, it's only a 1 politics buyout. Scrap when revealed. Gain an additional deployment when you activate advanced training. Search your stockpile for any 2 non-unique pilots. Show them to your opponent and put them in your hand. Well, there's 2 non-unique pilots in there. Okie dokie.
Well, there's the Fanatic, the Patronizer, plus the ones in the sideboard.
Yeah, and then when we see, we also have Claw of the Bear in the sideboard. +1 attack, +1 initiative. Mech piloted by Claw is fast. It may attack fast units. And if mech piloted by Claw of the Bear is slow, it gains +X armor, where X is the base armor. So all of a sudden, then that gladiator has 6 armor, plus any of the other bonuses. Okie dokie. And this is one of the ones where we have a slightly different number of
There's 6 commands.
Yeah, mission cards, demands. Maybe we should drop one of the other 2, but hey.
Yeah.
Ragnar, choosing a unit you control, prevent all damage received by that unit. Again, great for keeping your early game or units alive. And Wrath of the Ghost Bear, make X choices from the list where X is the number of units you control. So again, you might have a number of elementals on here that count for that. Play a non-unique clan card from your scrap heap to your hand. Sorry, put a non-unique clan card from your scrap heap to your hand. So that could be anything, as long as it's not unique. So the only people you can't get are Teresa and Jake with that. And then gain an additional deployment, probably to play the card anyway. To help with the big stuff, we've put another elemental swarm in there, and also keeping up the pressure. And then unit wise, 2 of the dragonflies, the Viper Eyes, the 164 that you saw in the Star Adder deck with an overheat 1 and anti-missile bap and jump, and 2 Svantavit. I'm not very good with Russian accents, I'm not going there. Fast 023 vehicle with AP2, ATM2 if you want it, and transport. Transport, 1 battle armor, not assault or quad, attacking or blocking with this unit gains this unit's speed. So you can use this vehicle and attack with it. Note that it says assault or quad, which, if I remember rightly, will remove... No, it doesn't remove the gnome.
No, gnome is not an assault armor, which
Right,
is one of the beautiful things about the gnome.
Just a beefier one. I just thought I had to check that. So again, you're able to dash with this. So there are a number of sources of dash to fly out there quick, tap your elementals, and hit hard.
So you might remove, to get this into the game, you might remove, say, your 2 elemental reserve guards, maybe, if you want more offensive capability, because you do have to remove elementals to put these in the deck. But the beautiful thing is when you step up to DSR with your 48 card deck, it's allowed to have, of course, 12 non-mech units. So the chance of that is just going for free.
Yeah. Nice note. Cool. Right, that's the Ghost Bear stuff. What we got next? I better go back to the list.
St. Ives is next.
St. Ives.
That's almost 2 hours. Do you have another round of decks in you?
2 hours. We've done 2 hours to do 4 decks, haven't we?
Yeah, well, these decks had more to talk about. They're a little less straightforward than Overheat or...
Let's do 2 more and see where we are.
Okay, I can do that.
Let's do 2 more. So we got St. Ives next.
Yes, and this was definitely a thinking deck. This took a lot.
Yeah, we struggled with St. Ives. I think you'll say historically they weren't around for very long, and fair enough. So we had quite a limited card choice. The original game had a couple of decent cards in it as well, but we weren't using those, so it was what was available. So I think we've come up with something that has potential.
Yeah, it's unique. I would be straight up and say that the exploring we've done in BattleTech Tactics since we developed these decks would have me adjust this deck in its resource capacity. We've had resupply command and political connections would make their way into this deck very quickly. If we were to redo it again today, but we're past that point because a few of these have been ordered. Maybe if there's another round someday, we'll make that change. Right? But this deck is going to be one of the ones that changes the way you think about playing BattleTech, which is one of the things Mike and Michael and Chester were really after. They didn't want just the same kind of 2/7 swarms or battle armor, elemental swarms kind of always winning. And this deck needs fire on its curve. It needs to pull out a couple of specific cards, but it's going to force your opponent to play differently if it does. Its resource setup is a standard 24 resources. It is an ATP deck, 7 assembly, 6 tactics, and 5 politics. Running 1 series metals, which gives it another assembly to repair St. Ives units, or give you 2 resources, 2 black markets, 1 think tank, and 2 war funds. Pretty standard. Going into the commands, you'll really see where this deck is designed. The first command on the list would be Justin Allard's Legacy. And this is, I hate to have a deck relying on one card. It doesn't rely on it, but this definitely makes a big difference. If you control no other St. Ives cards, scrap it because it's a legacy. Otherwise, it cannot be scrapped from play. All opposing fast and moderate units attack as if one speed slower. This deck is incredibly slow. It's incredibly defensive. That legacy makes it so your units can actually block and hold the line. It is quintessential and a very important card in the deck. The next three commands we'll talk about are where the engine or the mechanics that are newer for this deck comes out. If you've been watching Mark's and Chester's play, you'll have seen this a lot, but logistical interference is the next one up. 1 cost, 2P, 2/6 at 8 makes it relatively hard to remove. When you activate this card, choose an opponent. Each time that opponent makes a deployment, they must scrap a card from their stockpile. So just playing the game, just trying to keep up tempo is going to cause them damage. Going down to sustained pressure, it's even same thing but more brutal. 2 cost, 1T buyout, so a little more expensive. 2/6 as well, but it forces your opponent to scrap whenever they draw a card each time. So that's absolutely. You can see where this would, if you had a few of these coming out at a turn, right? You can be costing your opponent 2, 3, 4 damage a turn very quickly, just a passive damage, which puts your opponent on the clock, right? Instead of a 2 draw a turn clock, it puts them on a 4 to 6 damage a turn clock. Rounding those out, because you now have targets that your opponent's going to want to get rid of, you have Media Campaign. It's a command subterfuge, more expensive than either of the other two at 1, 6P buyout, and no armor, 0, 8 structure, St. Ives only card. But it says deal 4 damage to opponent's stockpile. Use the ability only during that opponent's end turn phase and only if that opponent attacked you this turn. So basically, they attack. If they don't kill Media Campaign, you're going to nail them back for 4 damage. It puts a big target on Media Campaign, especially because it has no armor. That someone can kind of come after Media Campaign over 1 or 2 turns and potentially remove it from the game. The last command in the main deck is Resolve of St. Ives. It's the St. Ives Ultra card. Remove the game from field. Put any 2 units from your scrap heap into your construction region face up with 2 construction counters on each. These do not count as deployments. 1 for 4 construction counters on 2 units, and depending on what units that has, you could almost have them deployed. Doesn't count as a deployment. This is going to help keep your tempo up for your units because your units are going to get beaten up in this deck. This deck is going to fight and feel and play like you are trying to survive to your last card, but that's really what St. Ives was. They only lasted a couple of decades in the lore before they were retaken over by Liao. Moving to the units. This deck has a pretty cheap curve and it's a low end curve. It starts with the Cossack at 0 and free deploy, 0, 2, 2 moderate with jump. As much as you might want to be tempted to get that out turn 1, that's really there to offset the free deploys in this are to offset deploying your sustained pressures, your logistical interferences, and your media campaigns, right? So you can keep a unit out on every turn. Moving to the 1 cost, it has the Raven 2X, 1 cost for 1/4/2 moderate overheat 1. Just a great unit. Moving into the 2 costs, you have the Tarantula again. I need to go over that. And then the St. Ives model of the Vindicator, 2 costs, no buyouts, 1/6/3 slow jump. Again, just a very stable, cheap unit. In your first 3 units, you have a moderate, a slow, and a fast, right? In your cheaper end units, 2 moderates. Moving up to 3 cost. You got a couple of units. The Line Holder. He's showing up in a few decks. He was in the Davian deck. He's just a great. And Mark has discussed that. I mean, at 1/7, at 8, he's hard to remove. And 4 damage potentially. You can. And a moderate. He's not a bad blocker. There's quite a few moderates in this deck, which is where that Justin Allard's legacy really pays off because it gives you your blocks against fast when he's out on the table. Speaking of a lack of fast, the next unit is the Cheetah. It is an Arrow Fighter 3/2A/2T 0/5/3, but it is a fast, so it's your 3rd fast unit in the deck, rounding you out to 6 fast units. It is the maneuverability can give it quite a bit of survivability when it is in combat. 3 armor potentially is nothing to be sniffed at. And Arrow Fighters, you have to remember too, they only roll a vehicle roll if they take structure damage. It's specifically in their wording. So at 4 cost, we have the Cataphract 2X with no buyouts. This is slow, but he's very beefy at 2/8. 3 overheat 1. Just that speaks for itself. And the Cicada 3F is also 4 cost, no buyout. We've seen that in multiple decks. That's your other fast. The last 4 cost is the Chameleon. 1/7/3 moderate, overheat 1, long range 1, jump. He's just got a lot of utility to him and low cost. Again, a moderate. Again, the 8 damage, so he's a little harder to remove. And if you're looking here, you're seeing a lot of moderates with 3 and a little bit of overheat to push into that 7 range, right, in teams. The last 4 coster is the Marauder 3L. This is one of your beefier mechs. He, for 4 cost, no buyout, St. Ives or Liao. 2/7/4 slow, overheat 1, gets it to 5 damage, is nothing to be sniffed at. In the 5 cost bracket, we've got 2 units, and that's the top of your unit bracket. The first will be the Victor. He is the heaviest mech in the deck at 5 costs, 3/7/4, long range 1 jump. And finally, the Wolverine. This is a 5 cost, 2/7/3 moderate, long range 1 jump, but again, it has that mask on a moderate, which gives the ability to step up and block it fast if needed. But you're going to pay for that with a depletion. So actually, it's got a pretty decent cost curve, but again, very heavy in the moderate and slow. You need to be aware of that and buy your time. Missions, this deck is fairly thin. It's running 4 missions because you're making most of your extra cards in your interference and sustained pressure. So first mission is buying time. You've seen this in the Raselhague deck. It really plays off in this one. Each of your blocking units gets +1 attack. Well, a lot of your blocking units are already around that 1/7 line, so they're pretty tough to begin with. And if they're not scrapped during battle, you gain that additional deployment or draw an additional card during your next... Draw a card or gain additional deployment during your next deploy phase. So again, that helps you get your commands out without losing your deployment curve. Early warning. Play only when blocking, +1 initiative. So you could end up winning the initiative. Prevent all damage to the target, so long range and missiles aren't going to work. Choose an opposing engaged unit and deplete it at the end of the battle. Roll 1 die, 1 to 3, no effect, 4 to 6, return this card to your hand. So this can, you block with one of your smaller fasts and potentially deplete an opponent's bigger unit or bigger fast, right?
Yeah, it's a kind of stall card in a way.
Yeah. And finally, the last mission is the Sacrifice. Play only when attacking with a single unit before blockers are declared. Your opponent must block this attack if able. Deplete all blocking units at the end of the mission. So I mean, they can choose a weenie blocker, right? It's your unit gets +X attack, where X is its base attack. The Cataphract, that's +3. The Chameleon, that's +3. The Cheetah, that's right. The Cicada, that's +3. The Cossack, like everything in here is going to get a substantial minimum +2, if not +3. So, not a bad option, just to give a little bit more damage boost.
Possibly a finisher if you need it.
Yeah. Moving into the sideboard. We have start off with the unique Duchess Candace Liao, 2 cost, 6p buyout, 4/4, makes her very hard to remove. Counts as Candace Liao while in play, so you're not playing your other version. This is great in DSR in this deck, other than it thins out some of your mechanics. But each of your sites, including your stockpile, gain 2 armor. That's phenomenal, right? A dasher is no longer scary on your stockpile, right?
No.
So many things are now not even a threat, and that makes your media campaign finally have some armor, and it puts four armor now on your logistical interference or sustained pressure. Second card is the last terrain that stayed in this. We had a bunch of different terrains in this deck at one time, just trying different things out. Hardened defenses, and this has come up in conversations in testing and stuff like that. This card is very good. The only downside to it is it's going to funnel all your damage into your stockpile. And what this does is when you activate it, put it in your command post and scrap all the terrain cards in that region. So you can't even play it on your stockpile. You cannot play it on your patrol region. All sites in that region gain +X armor, where X is their base armor, and +Y structure, where Y is their base structure. So double the armor and structure. That turns sustained pressure into a 4/12. That turns even media campaign into an 18 structure, which is really hard to remove. Of note, it says base, so it does not work with Duchess Candace Liao. You're not getting 4 out of her. And go ahead.
I think you said 18,
Okay, so,
but it's 16 damage, 16 to kill the media campaign is 0/8.
Sorry,
doubled.
yeah, eight doubled.
Yeah.
The last commands in the sideboard are Pillbox. These are command enhancement. And can be played on anything but an operation or the stockpile. The site gains +5 armor and +2 attack. And if it takes structure damage during a mission, scrap Pillbox. So if you get through the armor, you get rid of Pillbox. And it's a free deployment. Pardon me.
But it's going to take 6 damage to do that.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Minimum, yeah. And that's if it's not on something else, right? You're talking 8 damage now if that's on sustained pressure or a logistical interference. Hidden Sentry, 2 of those. We saw that in Raselhague. Again, this is a very slow deck, so that speaks for itself. Moving into the missions. Last in line. Play only when blocking. You're going to do a lot of blocking. May remove any opposing units from the battle. You may not remove all opposing units from the battle. So they mass attack, you block, you just remove their units from battle. Doesn't say untap them, right? So it's just a way to stall out a little longer. And last man standing. Play only when blocking after damage is resolved. Choose an engaged unit you control. Add a +1 attack counter to it and untap it. So this is a permanent boost, and it untaps, giving you a second blocker.
Yep. And a couple of units at the end.
Yep. Finally, move into the last 2 units. The Corsair is an arrow fighter, and it's St. Ives. It's for the legacy. 4 cost. It's still slow at 293. Overheat 2 means you're going to be pushing into more likely to be pushing into your structure. But it's a sturdy unit at 2/9. If you're not using your overheat, maneuver 1 can be pushed to that armor to 3 or an additional damage if you need it. And the Emperor at 8 cost is just a wall. 3/11 4, Alpha Strike 5. You're rarely going to use that Alpha Strike because it's a big swing, but that's going to be I'm using it to finish the game kind of thing. Right? So
the thing with the Corsair is it's a little bit more pressure. You have your logistical, your sustained, and your media campaign, and probably the way to get rid of those is to go after them. Well, if you're leaving yourself open, then it means the Corsair will go through. As it's an aero fighter, you have to guard basically to block it. So, yeah.
Well, there's an argument to be made. There's a lot. We're doing a lot of deck testing right now on logistical interference and sustained pressure, right? And they are annoying. I agree with you entirely. I still don't think they're game winners. Like, yes, it sucks to draw a card and scrap something that you need to play. And I think they do more in 60 card than in DSR, but at the same time, they're harder to get out. And it's an interesting play. This deck really wants to play defensively and just kind of let your extra damage passively put pressure on them, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the St. Ives Media Campaign deck.
And that leaves Novacat, if I remember rightly. Novacat next? Novacat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
This is a bit of a mixed bag again. This was the first deck to get Element or Protomix.
Yeah.
Where is it?
So, shall I do Novacat? You've done the last one.
Sure.
All
My
right.
DSR.
So, the Novacat deck is based around 7 assembly and 7 tactics, and 4 logistics for something else in there, probably a pilot or 2, and a couple of the Protomechs. To round out the resources, we have 1 black market, we have 2 war funds, and a think tank. So alongside those resources, we have a resource unit, which is one of the things that Tactics brought in. It's a 1 cost with a 1A and 1L buyout, so paying those extras doesn't really make too much of a difference. It's 4 armor 2 structure, and its ability says tap, activate one of your units under construction with a base cost of 11 or more that is within 5 resources of being constructed. So if you have an 11 cost unit like this Novacat A, and it's got 6 counters on it, and you tap the resource unit Kappa, you can bring that out. Basically, it's tap for 6 resources. Who needs improved construction facilities? Okay. So the resource mix is slightly different here, and in dual stockpile, if we're not at 24, those go into the main deck and not the resource deck.
No,
Yeah.
those go in the resource deck because there's only 24 resources in
Okay.
this with the
I
resources.
wasn't doing the maths. My head hurts.
We've been at this.
Yeah, okie dokie. Whilst we're in the commands, then we have the unique pilot here, Lucius Carnes, +2 attack, +1 initiative. You may choose to win or lose initiative. You may choose a unit you control and remove it from the battle, or choose an opponent, a unit opponent controls, and add it to the battle. Most of the time, you're probably going to want to choose to win initiative. It's only in quite a specialist deck with the lose initiative missions that you might want to play those first and use that ability. He is a pilot, and alongside him we have 2 Arsonist, which made an appearance in the Davian deck. Basically, this is a redline pilot that you can put on a mech or an aerofighter. The costs are about the same, but note the 1L addition to that for the aerofighters. Additionally, we have marksmen, where they do not take damage with using the overheat ability, or deplete when using the alpha strike ability. And when we look at some of the units in a minute, then that's quite a boon. So those units, let's see if I can do these in order. We have a Hankyu B, the Arctic Cheetah, the 043 fast with jump to start with. Alongside that, we have its little brother, the 042 Arctic Cheetah E. It doesn't do as much damage, but it does have AP2, so that's still a threat. And at 3 cost, no, I've missed Satin West, thematic battle armor, 043 battle armor, AP jump, the usual battle armor stuff. And then tap, add Satin West to the mission, so it has the infiltrator ability. Untap Satin West and remove him from the battle. Use this ability during a battle involving Satin West.
So you tap him, add him to any battle, jump him to gain initiative, and then remove him from the battle so he can't die.
Yeah. Or you can, yeah, that's probably the way to deal with it, to get that. Seems a bit fiddly, but there we go. So that's the 2 costs. So up to 3, we have another Arctic Cheetah, this time the H044 with jump, giving you a decent, solid, fast cover. We have the Ocelot at moderate for 4,
Okay.
064 BAP and jump. And then we're into the 5s, I think. Or have I
In
missed?
there.
No, I've missed the Centaur 3, the Protomech. The
Yep.
143 moderate with the Protomech ability, roll 3 dice, which means
Say no bother.
if that's the case, you've got to deal 8 damage to get rid of a 3 cost unit. That's pretty strong. That makes it the equivalent to the original Exterminator with the 3 1A 1M buyout, effectively. So that, yeah, that's pretty tough to get rid of. I've done the cheat, so we've done the 4 with the Ocelot. 5 next. I'm going to go to the Rifleman, the 2C. At 282 for 5, you get the feeling that this doesn't do enough damage. Most of that is tied up in the overheat, which isn't overly exciting. 40 yourself for 2 additional damage. But the Plasma Shot 2 means that you can give your opponent's unit -2 attack. So basically your overheat is effectively 2+2, so to speak, which makes it a lot more palatable. Additionally,
There's the marksman in there.
marksman, sorry, have I missed one?
No, I just mean if you're adding the Arsonist or marksman in there, you mitigate the overheat
Oh,
entirely.
put your pilot on that, thank you very much, yes. Rock 2 Protomech 145. This is kind of getting into the Gorgon 2 territory that we saw earlier. Cheapish, lots of damage, hard to kill. And then the 6, the Rock 3 version, the 6 cost 156. Again, just takes that to the next level. We have a cheaper Nova Cat here in the 296 Alpha 2 overheat 4+2. This is probably where your Arsonist is likely to shine with both of those Alpha Strike and overheat abilities. Done the Marauder. I think I might have missed the Marauder. I missed the Marauder. 274 overheat 2+3 long range. It can kill a resource on its own. It's a good sturdy body, etc, etc. And then finally at the top end we have the Nova Cat A at 299 long range 4. Long range 4 is just scary. To support this with missions, we have Covering the Retreat.
Prime.
Sorry, have I missed one?
Nova Cat Prime 12 long range 5.
Nova Cat straight cost Prime. Yes, 299 overheat 3+3 long range 5. Even scarier than the A with long range 4. Put those two together and 9 long range is just, yeah. Who needs a heroic sacrifice when they've got 2 Nova Cats like that? Covering the Retreat, play when blocked, choosing a unit you control. You may untap all other engaged units you control and remove them from the battle. Note that says untap. So you can attack with 3, you can block with 3, you can untap yours and sacrifice them, or sacrifice 1 to get a hit on the stockpile, or if he blocks with something, if he chump blocks or speed bumps, you can kill that and untap your other units and then send them across again. Scrap the chosen unit at the end of the battle, so it's kind of a sacrifice, but you can make that work to your advantage. In a Spirit, play during battle where you have a single unit engaged. Choose an opposing unit. All other opposing units neither deal nor receive damage. So this is a survivability for your fast shield of your Arctic Cheetahs. They don't have any armor, so preventing the damage and being able to manipulate the damage so that you can survive, they die, or whatever else is a good card. Lay of the Land, play during battle where all your units are 60 tons or lighter. So again, this is a kind of one focusing on your Protomechs because they're quite cheap, or quite light, and also all your Hankyus. The only units that are in that category are basically your Nova Cats, the Marauder, and that Rifleman. Satin Actually, Satin doesn't have any armor associated, weight associated with him. He probably should do. Maybe that's one
He
thing
should
to
actually.
go on the fat list. He's probably a 5-tonner. Prevent 1 damage to each of your moderate units and 2 damage to each of your fast units. That keeps your hand queues alive and then just makes these protomechs even harder to kill. No recognition code. The protomech unit mission we've talked about and when to use it. Redline Berserker. This is Nova Cat and Pilot food. That's why there's only one there. It's just a raw damage increase, or allows you to overheat the, which is the scary one, the Rifleman 2C. You can overheat this without worry of that overheat 4, and turn that into a +4 in total. Visions fulfilled. Play when blocking. Choose 2 opposing untapped units that are not in the battle. Tap those units and they join the battle. That's the way to bring in your big stuff in order to decimate his forces. And ways of seeing: show the top card of your stockpile. If it has a base cost, you may scrap a card and add its base cost to the attack value of your engaged unit you control. If you do not scrap the card, you may choose and put it in your hand and restock it. So this is a win-win situation. So you can attack with something and then pull out a Nova Cat A with a base damage or base cost, does it say? Base cost. So you can pull out a Nova Cat with a base of 11 and give you add that base cost to the attack value of the engaged unit. So you give yourself +11. If you don't draw your Nova Cat or something like that, you may choose to put it in your hand and restock it. So it's just a raw damage boost, or draw a card, depending on how things go. Onto the sideboard, and we have commands. We have the Nova Cat High Command, 04221 logistics. Draw 2 cards. You may restock 1 or both of them to gain a resource for each card you restock. Use this ability during your deploy phase. Again, you may or may not want to restock them, but if you want to tap this card for 2 resources, that's pretty strong. Or drawing cards, and you can restock 1 or both. So you can use this to draw a card and gain a resource, or restock both, etc., etc. Lots of flexibility within that to do what you want and gain, if you need those extra 2 resources or a resource accordingly. Right of the Vision. Scrap when revealed. Search your stockpile for a mission card, show it and put it in your hand. Shuffle your stockpile, gain an additional deployment. So basically this is the equivalent of pay 1 to go and search for a mission card that you want. It replaces itself with deployments.
And this deck has lots of initiative, so.
Sorry?
This deck has lots of initiative to play multiple mission cards too. So.
Yeah. Especially when you've got Severin LaRue on the table, because you tap him and gain +2 initiative. If you win initiative for the rest of the mission, your opponent may not, and you choose one of these, use a tap ability. Okay, maybe, could be useful. Play mission cards, that's very strong.
Really?
Activate command cards, again, that could be very strong. Use this ability during a mission, so he's a shutdown for your opponent effectively. So that again, strong. Dawn Raid, and this is why this is in the sideboard. It probably is more effective when your opponent is playing with some of those things. So when you're attacking, you get +1 initiative. And your opponent may not use C3, C3I, ECM, Alpha Strike, BAP, Tag, or Narc. Each of your units gets +1 attack. I mean, that is +1 initiative, +1 attack on everything, and your opponent doesn't get to play with any of those. And if you play that with Severin on the table, then yeah.
That shuts down the Kirita deck, the Word of Blake deck, and the Steiner deck without a second thought.
Steiner deck? Alpha Strike.
Yeah. Alpha Strike.
Yeah, doesn't say overheat, which is interesting, but hey ho. Redline Berserker, just a raw damage boost again if you think you need it. And the Sacrifice we have seen in the St. Ives deck as well earlier. Yeah, kind of potential finishing card.
It works very well in this deck, though. I want to point out, just because of Visions Fulfilled, right?
Sure.
Whether your opponent must block this, then you can force 2 more units into it and deplete all the blocking units. It really can create a position where you can now attack on your attack phase and they have no blockers left at all.
Yeah. So you can literally suck them in and deplete them with that combo, and then you're 3 through. And then finally we've got Phoenix Hawk 2C, 374 AP jump, just a solid body in the middle of the curve. And if you think you need something a little on the smaller end, the Puma H adder, the 153 overheat one, just to slot into that slot or that particular slot on the curve. If you want to take the deck in a direction and reduce some of the costs and play it like that way, or if you want to go slightly beefier, then you can add your Phoenix Hawk, etc, etc, etc. Cool. That leaves us with Steiner and Steel Viper. So, oops, I've closed that down, not good. Let's just
Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
I'm going to need a comfort break, so I'm going to walk away for 2 minutes. I don't know if you want to talk about the Steiner deck or not.
I mean, I've played it a lot. I love it.
I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah. Hey!
Oh, nicely timed. Okay, shall I do the Steiner deck? It kind of was one of those ones I just threw a load of cards together and thought, I like that, and that can go in, and that's synergistic and whatever else, and all of a sudden you end up with a deck that you actually quite like in the end. So the Steiner deck is a little different from some of the other ones. It has a main focus on munitions, with 8 of those, 6 tactics and 4 logistics, 2 black market, a think tank, and 2 war funds to help it out. That does make slightly over on that effectively, but 2, 4, 6, 8, that's 18, 22, 24. Maybe it should be another think tank, but anyway, no, there's a Defiance Industries in there, the final resource. Yep. Giving you another assembly, well, in fact, giving you an assembly, as we'll see. Yeah. But it's there mainly for the repair facility, the repair ability on that. Yeah. Okay. So this deck is basically an alpha striking deck, which is why we have 2 Hawkeyes in here, mech or vehicle pilot. Anyone who uses alpha strike, it gets +2, does not deplete. It's basically the sharpshooter of BT Tactics, and the L buyout is in there to allow it to be used with vehicles. The marksman is the kind of other option, again, we've seen that today. Alpha Strike does not deplete, and Overheat does not take overheat damage. And if it's on a unit, i.e. vehicle or aerofighter, it does not roll for scrapping. Alongside those commands, we have Adam Steiner in general format, a pilot with +2 attack and a +2 initiative. What's not to like there? Counts as Adam Steiner in play. When a mech piloted by General Adam Steiner attacks or blocks, roll a die. 1 to 3, no effect. 4 to 6, untap the mech after the mission. So basically, he's got the Bear of McKinsey Hammer, the McMallet ability, which is reasonable. +2 attack and +2 initiative is quite nice. Maybe you might argue he's a bit expensive for a unique at 4, but it is what it is. Fist of Steiner. Activate at the beginning of your missions phase. For the rest of turn, any of your attacks which involves one or more of your mechs that's greater than 80 tons may not be blocked by a single unit. As we will see in a minute, there are a number of heavy hitters in this particular deck. And I'm just looking at the numbers over here, and there's some big numbers there. To fit in with the ammunition theme that I think we saw mainly with Raselhague, we have one that supports alpha striking in forward deployed ammo. Unlike the others, it has 1 armor. Not sure if that's intentional or not, but hey, it's 131.
LRM, Incendiary LRM had attack and armor.
Okay, so they do vary. Okay. Tap, pay an amount of resource. For each resource, choose a unit you control that has not been chosen by an ammunition card ability this turn. Until the beginning of your next turn, using Alpha Strike does not deplete those units. Use this ability during your deployment phase. If this card is untapped, Alpha Strike does not deplete your blocking units. So you've got 2 options to use this here, and you may deploy it refield. So on the attack, you can choose to use your resources to not deplete when you attack, or you can leave it untapped and you can Alpha Strike as a defensive option and not suffer the restrictions. Yeah.
Play 2 and you get both.
Yeah. Okay. Unit wise. 1 cost, Shadowhawk, 133. The equivalent of basically the original revised Clint at 133, but only 1 buyout, and that's munitions. It fits the deck, it's moderate, it's cheap, it's 1 cost. You can throw it on the table and be quite happy. In the 2 costs, oh no, we got the 1 cost as well. We also have the Stiletto with a 1A buyout. Okay, it's a 051 with ECM, so effectively a 151 ECM applying across the board. Be prepared to pay the A buyout. The only source of A in this deck is the Defiance Industries, so paying 2 for this is not the end of the world. It's a good fast blocker and survivable with ECM. Going up the scale, we have the Blitzkrieg, another fast unit, a 151 Alpha 2. Again, that's your fast cover in tandem with the Stiletto giving it ECM. Then you've got a lot of survivability. And
not
also,
that even a Hawkeye on that brings you 5 damage right on a fast unit.
Yeah. Hawkeye on one of those is nice. 2 cost, straight Manticore. Nothing too shocking here. A 264 vehicle. It's slow. It's 2-2M. It's the same stats as the original Demon, but the Demon is 2 and this is a 2-2M. Fits in very nicely with the deck theme, and good damage. At 3 cost, we have the Hunchback 5S, 173 Alpha 2 jump. Potentially this is a destination for one of your pilots. Probably the Hawkeye to take that damage of 3 plus the Alpha 2 and another 2 up to the Magic 7. Certainly that makes it quite difficult, quite painful to get rid of because it's a 1-7 and it's dishing out 7 back. That's there. So what have we got? The 4-cost slot. We have the you quickly just use Zeal, a 1/5/4 jumper, moderate, just solid. The good thing with this is you can hunt elementals with this if you want. It does 4 damage. Most elementals are 0/4s. So this gives you some options to deal with the elemental damages or the elementals in opposing decks. Where are we next? 5 Demolisher. It's a
You missed
bit.
the Pegasus.
Which one? I missed the Pegasus.
Pegasus.
Where are we? Oh yeah, there he is at the top. 4-cost. 4-cost. Dashing Pegasus vehicle, a 1/3/2. Nothing too crazy, but it does have ECM, it does have BAP, it does have tag, and it's got dash. I don't think there's much in the way of targets for tag in this deck, but as a fast blocker with ECM and dash, it's a useful unit in there. The Demolisher 3/10/3 is hard to get rid of. Probably the way you're going to get rid of this is get a die roll. On a 5 or a 6, but with Alpha 4, and that's a lot of damage if you can get a pilot on it or use one of the missions. And if you let it through, it's also got AP just to rub salt in the wound. If it hangs around, it could be a real pain in the backside. If it dies early, you might feel slightly aggrieved. And if it does die early, then the next thing to put on the table is probably the Bargeist. At moderate, 2/8/3, which is strong and durable, and with Alpha 4, again, home for a pilot without too many problems. Long range 2 is nice, but the quad ability gives it +1 armor as well. So effectively, if you use that ability, it's a 3/8/3. Put a pilot on here, it could be a 3/8/9 or even 11. For 6 and a pilot
3,
cost.
7, or 9.
Yeah. That's pretty
It's a
hard.
monster.
Pretty hard to deal with. Also in the monster category, we have the Goliath, 3/10/4 Alpha 2 long range quad. So the nice thing in this deck is it shows off a few of the quads. To be honest, again, a good home for, and this is why these pilots are the mech and vehicle pilots, and not just the generic ones. Again, something a little different. And we also have at the top end the king himself, or the top end, the 3/11/6 Alpha 5 Emperor. Should you get it on the table, and I think that's.
There's also the Popman, 8-cost 3L3M.
Oh, the Helpman, yes. I thought that. I was thinking he's in the sideboard, but I think it's the other one that's in the sideboard. 3/11/4 Overheat 2 Alpha 3. Target here for the Marksman with both bonuses on there. And again, 4 + 2 + 3. That's 9 damage. There's nothing to be sniffed at.
Nope.
Mission-wise, we haven't really got a lot of room because we're running Fist and Adam and the ammos. Shotgun Berserker is basically +2 attack, don't deplete. It's a Alpha Strike support mission. Valiant Defender is there to kind of just survive if you need to. One of your small little stilettos facing down a Daishi, and they play Valiant Defender, and everything happens. And then ammo drop is generically sized Alpha Strike support mission. So you need munitions in play. That's our main asset. Your main units with Alpha Strike get +1 and do not deplete. This allows you to Alpha Strike and do all sorts of extra damage. Very, very nice. And then finally, if you are going to Alpha Strike, you're going to fire everything. And this particular Steiner mission gives Alpha Strike +4. Again, if you happen to have a pilot, that's either very nice, but you can get to some crazy numbers with those missions. In the sideboard, we have another ammo card in the AC Cluster Ammo Depot. Basically, Choose a unit you control with listed AC, LBX, Ultra AC, Rotational AC, and LAC. Well, when you look over here at the decks, this is practically anything with a big Alpha Strike has got all of those. There's not been chosen by an ammo card, so it can't stack ammo cards until the beginning of your next turn. Unit gets +1 attack and Alpha +2. Use this ability during your deploy phase. So note here that if it gains Alpha 2 and you are using the Hawkeye, you can use its card printed Alpha 2 and trigger the Hawkeye on +2 on that, and then you can trigger this as a separate ability and get another +2 off the Hawkeye from that. So they stack, which does make that quite strong. Okay, another ammo drop, another fire everything. Hold on, what have I done? Where's the rest of it? Let me do that again. Cluster ammo. I'll do the missions while I'm here. And shotgun berserker we've done. Fire everything we've done. Ammo drop we've done. Oh yeah, take that little man. It's just a, provided your mech is heavier, it gets +3 attack and +3 armor. Well, if we go back and look over here and we look at the masses of these, the Demolisher's 100, the Hauptmann's 95, the Emperor's 90, the Goliath is 80, and the Bargeist is 70, and even the Manticore at 60, and the Shadowhawk and the Hunchback at 55.
These say max, so the vehicles don't count.
The vehicles don't count. Okie dokie. Uziel at 50. Even the Berserker, the Blitzkrieg, sorry, at 50. They stand a really good chance of being a lot heavier than units in the same category. So that can be quite a useful mission, giving you +3 attack and +3 armor. So as I missed the commands, we'll head back. We did the cluster. Jackson Davian. He is available for a Steiner deck. +1 attack, +3 initiative. You may untap any number of opposing engaged units and remove them from battle. You may not untap all opposing units. You may not play any mission cards after using this ability. Note this says after using this ability. So you can play all your missions, then use the ability and get rid of them all. Potentially. Because I don't think there's any particular order in which you must declare those. So once it's done, so to speak. But being able to control the number of units on your opponents that are blocking with is very strong. And then finally, unexpected ammunition, 2-3M, scrap when revealed, activate at the end of your missions phase, reload all your depleted units and draw a card. So this allows you to go and Alpha Strike as much as you need to, and then you'll reload them at the end, and effectively they're just tapped as if they'd normally been attacked, and you draw a card to replace this. It basically allows you to go free and wild with your Alpha Strike without the worry of the depletion, and then pull this at the end and put them all back. On the unit side, we have the Hollander at 142, Alpha 2. What's not to like here? The assembly buyout is the obvious thing that's not to like here. Note we have one source of assembly, but even if you end up paying 2 for this, a 142 Alpha 2 is still pretty strong, pretty good. Compare it to the 1-cost Raven, which is a 141 overheat one. They're very similar in that respect. And we've got to teach you how to play with buyouts as well at some point. As well as that, we have a 6-cost Highlander, 311-2, not great. Missile 1, okay, but Alpha 3 on that makes it nice food for a pilot. And if we're going into the weight category, it's a 90-tonner. And
also 14 to remove.
Yeah, it's just going to stand around. And then the Hauptmann, 311-5, Alpha 4, Overheat 1, Q the Arsonist, Long Range 2, ECM. This is going to stand around even longer and be even harder to remove. So they will stick around, they will stay there, they will take a beating, and when you want to alpha them you can, or you can choose to use your various alpha striking support when you want in order to maximize the output of this deck. it's got a nice curve to it. There are a number of 1 cost into 2 cost into 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's a couple of heavy hitters after that. And yeah, I like it. I think it plays well. I would change units in it, but then I would change units in every deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, any of these, I would focus a couple of units. This deck, if you say pulled them in, like you weren't doing 2 of, and you went to more hunchbacks and stuff like that. Like there's definitely ways to make it more consistent and do a little bit better. But this deck, I find, of all of the F20s, especially the Inner Sphere, seems to fire very consistently. And because Alpha Strike is costed a little less than Overheat, you actually get more bang for your buck with the pilots and missions in this deck than you do in, say, the Dagging Overheat deck, I find.
Provided you can mitigate the downside of the Alpha Strike, then yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. And that leaves us with Steel Viper.
Steel Viper would be next.
Yeah.
Do you want do one more?
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do Steel Viper. Yeah.
All right, Steel Viper was another took a little bit fine tuning to kind of find what they really did. Steel Viper likes to add a lot of damage. This deck is a ATP deck, so primarily AT, 8 assembly, 6 tactics, 4 politics. Has 1 black market, 2 war funds, 1 think tank. Rounds out the resources with 2 resource unit thetas, which is like the other one we mentioned in the Novacat deck that works for 11, but this one works for 9. So it gives you 4 free resources for 1. In the commands, we have Natalie Breen, costs 2, 3/3, provides politics. Untap one of your engaged units. No units deal or receive damage this battle. This uses ability only during a battle and only after damage has been assigned. No units deal or receive damage. Right, so you're going to keep. You untap one of your engaged units. It comes out. It's going to have a chance to come back if you're on the offensive, and not receiving damage is kind of big, especially after you're doing it after damage has been assigned.
Yeah.
Side Natalie Breen is her legacy. Go figure. If you control another Steel Viper card, like all the other ones, scrap it. Flat, all Steel Vipers gain +1 attack. Okay, for 2, flat, universal, +1 attack. Doesn't matter if you're attacking, defending, doesn't matter. Stay with what works is a command, costs 1, scrap when revealed. Put any 2 mission cards from your scrap heap into your hand. So Steel Viper, just like Pair Guard there. This will give you some of your mission cards back. And then Steel Viper High Command. Next, 3 cost for 2. Tap your Steel Viper affiliated mechs +2 attack and may only attack alone this turn. They may each only be blocked by a single unit. So that gets rid of a lot of that. You're going to pound your opponents in. Use ability only during missions phase. Affiliated alliances do not count for this effect. So that's just, again, another +2. You add that to Legacy or +3. It's going to be blocked by 1 unit. You're probably going to start winning, especially when we get into the unit mix next. So go through the unit mix.
Oh, we've got a pilot to do.
Oh, the pilot, right. And Mark's favorite pilot, the specialist, 1 cost, base +1/+1, attack and initiative. However, every unit in this deck but 1 is Steel Viper, and when she pilots a Steel Viper, she has +2 attack and +2 armor, which is even more than Sang Wei with Liao, if you remember that card, right? So this card could potentially see some change in the future. There's some conversations around specialist. That's for huge bonuses for very cheap, even if it's only during battle. You're often going to be in battle in this deck, and if you're using that in conjunction with, say, the high command, +2 attack, +2 armor, you're probably always winning. Moving into units, the cheapest unit in the game or in the deck is the Howler at 1 cost, 2 assembly, 0/3/3. ATM 3. ATM is an interesting ability. It says decrease your attack to gain missile. So you get blocked, you get range basically of some sort. And it has mask as a moderate, which means it can block fast units, but it will cost its depletion. After that, it's a big jump up to 3.
Koshi E.
Oh no, sorry, Koshi E. Apologies. Yeah, Koshi E is 2 cost, 3 or 0 3 fast ATM 2. So it gets 1 missile, a BAP in there, which we've commented on, and jump means you could potentially be getting 2 initiative out of this 1 unit, which you'll see come up later. Jumping to 3 costs now. We have the Pluma H adder. You've seen it in a lot of decks. It's just a great 3 cost, no buyout, stable unit. And set it for 3. Yeah. So moving to 4s, we move to I like going no buyouts. So Battle Cobra F first. 4 no buyouts. 4 damage, moderate, 1/5, long range, 1 jump. Just a good stable unit again. A great backliner. The no buyouts on that. The Puma will give you kind of some of your earlier game units that you can afford to just put points on, or construction counters on. The Battle Cobra H also comes in at 4, but has an ANT, a buyout, a 1/5/4 moderate, overheat 2, long range 2, means that this thing can keep pumping damage to the stockpile for a little while. And then the Mist Links Koshi F.
Yeah.
4 cost. This thing's is all over the place, but it's definitely has some potential. 4 cost, 0/3/3 fast, overheat 2, ECM 1 means she's going to kill herself in 3 turns on its own. But BAP and jump means you're pretty much always going to be positioned that you should be deciding when and where you're going to use that overheat.
And tag is quite useful as well in this deck because there are a few missile mechs to.
Oh, there is.
Yeah,
there's the ATM that you can fire the missiles off with. Yeah.
It just reminds me of the Loki Prime in the original game. It's got everything slapped on it.
Yeah, pretty much. That's it for 4 costs. So then we move into the 5 cost bracket with the Cougar B. I've seen this in pretty much every deck it can be in. I think she made an appearance. 5 cost for 6 damage that can bump up to 7 with long range 2. It's a sight killer. It's doing more damage than you're paying, and it's a moderate, right? It's just a great card. Then we move up to the Helium Prime at 6. Again, this is another mech that I think saw play in pretty much every faction it could. Either main deck or sideboard. Being able to effectively dash out for 7 is huge. But you'll notice both the Helium Prime and the Cougar B are both fairly weak. At 1/4, they're pretty easy to get rid of. Moving into beyond that, we start moving up into the 7 costs. Nope, 6 costs. Nope, we already did Helium Prime.
We did the Helium Prime. Blackliner E.
Yeah, so Blackliner E at 7 cost. Blackliner E, all the Blackliners are fast, heavy mechs, which is huge. They cost 7. 1/7/5, overheat 1 with the ATM, where there's some more of that missile that you can mix in there. This deck is not running munitions, so you're not going to get the most bang for your buck out of those missiles. However, they are there, and this has mask on a fast, strong unit, which is nothing again to not ignore. Especially when you think of the damage bonuses that are already out here. If you're talking Natalie Bree's Legacy or things like that, this could be coming out at 9 damage potentially. Moving from the Black Lantern, we move into 9 costs, which is where our resource unit plays off. First resource, 9 costs, is the Matador. Art is fantastic for this mech. 9 costs, no buyouts. 2/8/6 slow, overheat 2 for 3, gets it to 9. AP 1 puts it to 10 on the site, plus jump. And it's an aligned mech, which means it's going to getting all the bonuses.
Yeah.
Then we have their Vipers or Black Pythons. So the Black Python 2, 9 cost, 3A, 3T, 285, moderate. So again, it's now this can start blocking some more stuff. Overheat 2 puts it to 7. Long range 2 lets you be cheeky. AP 1 puts you to 8 on a site. ECM puts you to armor 3 plus 1 across the board, and jump, which lets you get to initiative 2 when you need to. Finally, Black Python 3, 9, 3T buyouts, so no assembly buyout on this one. 296, moderate. Overheat 4 for plus 2, gets it to 8, but you're doing a lot of damage to yourself, but at 9 you can afford to do that a few times. AP 1, and jump. Moving into the missions, this has a bit of a different mission package. Advanced and Echelon, first one, +1 initiative, but you lose the initiative. And again, there's a lot of stasis here where you're winning the initiative, but you've just got flat damage bonuses anyways. Each of your units gets an additional +1 attack. You've already been giving out +3 or +4 attack to all your units. What's another +1? Your opponents may not play further mission cards during this turn. So you just play that. You're probably winning, like whether you lose the initiative or not, you just play it at the beginning of the mission phase, and that's it. Right?
Deal all that lovely extra bonus damage all over the place.
Yeah. Concentrated Fires next. We saw that in the Star Adder deck. Choose 2 steel. In this case, you're going to choose 2 Steel Viper affiliated cards and join the battle. This can pull them directly out of the construction region. Night Mission, we've seen in a few decks. +1 initiative, you have to have tactics in play only when attacking. Remove a unit from battle is not necessarily a positive one in this one, but on a 2 to 6, which is most of the time, you're getting an additional +1 attack and +2 armor. Plan Maneuver, play if you have T in play, which you're probably going to in this deck. Each of your engaged units gains +1 attack. Again, each of your engaged Steel Viper affiliated units gain additional +1 attack. So it's everything but the Puma H is getting +2 attack globally. And Pride of the Trueborn comes up next. Again, this is the ubiquitous mission in the 3 factions that can take it. It's, as we've discussed before, it's risky combat jump without needing jump. You just need it to be an affiliated mech, which this deck has in spades. Finally, the Sword of Honor, because we don't have enough attack bonuses. Everything in this deck is affiliated. Sword of Honor says when you attack, for each untapped affiliated unit in your patrol region, gain an additional +1 attack. This can very often, very quickly get gross and get up to a +3 or +4 in this deck. And so you can just see very quickly, this isn't a C3I deck like Word of Blake or something like that when we get to it. It's not a C3 deck like Kurita, but just the pure damage bonuses between the pilots, between Steel Viper High Command, between Madeline Breeze Legacy. It's gross what this deck can dish out in pure damage.
I think the hardest part with this deck is adding it all up. Adding all the numbers up.
Yeah, and making sure you haven't lost any along the way.
Yes.
Moving to the sideboard. First card is Brett Andrews. Pilot, again. +1 attack. Ooh, that's the lowest attack bonus we've seen for cost 3. Gain +2 initiative. But then each of your engaged mechs gets an additional +2 attack. When you assign damage this battle, you cannot have more than 2 mechs assign damage to any single opposing mech. But again, if you're talking about +2 to all of your mechs, you're probably going to be overpowering them even one-on-one.
Plus any of the other bonuses, yeah.
Eye of the Steel Viper is their ultimate card. Activate only at the beginning of your missions phase. Until the end of turn, each Steel Viper affiliated unit gets +2 attack. Just till the end of turn. So beginning of mission phase, all your units, except for the Puma, are going up to +2. Something we threw in for fun, Terrain Fortified Strong Points. Cost 3. When you activate this card, put it in any of your regions except the patrol region, and scrap all the terrain cards in that region. All attacking units are scrapped at the end of a battle. You may untap one of your engaged units. Use this ability only when blocking and only during a mission whose target is in the region enhanced by Fortified Strong Points. So, you're almost always going to be overpowering your opponent with attack. right? So very likely, you're gonna if you double block, you're gonna be untapping one unit every time. Very likely, especially when you talk about your moderates that are hitting for 7, 8, 9, 10 damage, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And it's a terrain. It goes in wherever you put it, and it sits there until they
yeah.
remove
So this
it.
one can't go patrol, but it's gonna go command post and because there's so many moderates, like it's gonna do very well.
Mhm.
Moving into missions in the sideboard, we have a Spirit of Core. I think this is one of the first times we've talked about this mission, but it is in a few other decks. Choose an engaged affiliated unit you control. Each of your engaged units with that affiliation, Steel Viper, gets +2 attack. Just a flat. Another planned maneuver and another Pride of the Trueborn. And speed matters. Play only when attacking before blockers are declared. All opposing slow units. We've discussed this one before. Things count as one speed slower when determining whether they can block the attack. Now, this deck is hurting a little bit for fast units. Just a little bit. It's very moderate heavy. But suddenly your moderates attacking as if they're fast is almost unblockable. Right? When you're talking about a lot of. Moving into units. You have the Black Lantern H. 7 cost. 174 ECM mask fast means it's dashing out. And again, we're talking about all of those lovely Steel Viper bonuses. And this is 7 no buyout, which makes it a potential like 3rd or 4th turn drop if you really were hurting for units and needed to play it early. If you paid it off over 2 turns, obviously. Finally, filling it out, last Steel Viper, Steel Viper unit. Arrow Fighter, the ISIS 2, costs 5. It's a 1/4/5 moderate. Long range 2, overheat 3, ATM 2, maneuver 2, arrow fighter. So my problem with this one is yes, it has overheat 3, but if you're using it in anything but combat, you're going to push yourself into structure damage, and then that's going to force you to do your own trapping roll. But it's still at 5 for 5 damage and potentially 8 damage, and potentially even more from global bonuses. It's a heck of a bomber. And if someone's dumb enough or is able to block it, then you're going to resist your overheat damage, right?
The thing you could do with this is if he blocks, then you can also use your maneuver. You can get up to 10 damage out of this. You're going to sacrifice it, but it's going to deal with 10 damage.
Mm-hmm.
Which
and that doesn't count global bonuses.
Gets rid of a lot of chunky stuff.
Yeah. So Steel Viper is just pure, unadulterated firepower, and it's the clan side of things. It is entertaining that it got matched up against Steiner. I think the deployment curve for Steiner is a bit better, but I do like the Steel Viper. Like it just once it gets going, it's so much firepower on the table.
Yeah. I think when you look at the Steel Viper deck, maybe at the bottom end it's a little weak, and I think if you got to hit it, you got to hit it hard and fast early and keep it on the back foot, because on the front foot it just literally washes over everything in front of it. It's tsunami style. It obliterates everything. Yeah. Cool. That's the next 8. Well,
that's
8 decks,
8.
4 matches. We've already got 3 of them played, so once this comes out, it'll be over to matches for a bit and leaves us with 4 decks to do at another point. Thank you very much for that, sir. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Talking us all the way through it. So, right, let's go into shutdown mode and make sure we don't overheat and whatever else.